Good afternoon. Welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We are standing by for a 1 p.m. White House press briefing. Of course, we'll bring that to you in its entirety in just about an hour from now. A lot of news to get to, a lot of various videos that are posted on X and Truth Social. Also, tonight, President Trump will be delivering remarks and signing executive orders at the AI Summit at the Andrew Mellon Auditorium located near the White House. That coverage starts a bit later today. We do know that the president is scheduled to speak there around 5 o'clock per the president's schedule for the day. So 2 more live events happening. This is the second one, the third one coming up a bit later. Also, programming note for this Friday, President Trump scheduled to travel to Scotland for a few days. He'll return to the States on Tuesday, July 29th. Meantime, at this hour, we're monitoring new developments within the Department of National Intelligence regarding its reporting to the DOJ and FBI regarding Obama-related election interference in 2016 and 2020. We'll get to that update in just a bit. We're also monitoring any developments from the DOJ regarding the Epstein case. We'll bring you the latest as we get it right here at the network. Also happening today, we're standing by for the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, who may speak with reporters on Capitol Hill. You see the reporters there. That's right outside the Speaker's office, we're told. We'll take you there live if that warrants the time, because what we're going to do is, if it's prior to the White House press briefing at 1 o'clock, of course, we'll take you there live. If it's when Karoline Leavitt is speaking, we'll be sticking with the White House coverage. But we are recording this live feed as well to upload it regardless. So the Speaker of the House may be speaking to reporters there shortly. Most likely, with the situation, the way you see the reporters there, this would happen prior to that 1 o'clock start time with Karoline Leavitt at the White House. Meantime, as you know, President Trump recently chimed in on late night TV hosts saying, quote, "The word is, and is a strong word at that, Jimmy Kimmel is next to go into the untalented late night sweepstakes, and shortly thereafter, Fallon will be gone. These are people with absolutely no talent who were paid millions of dollars for, in all cases, destroying what used to be great television. It's really good to see them go, and I hope they played a major part in it." So on the heels of that post from just yesterday, I'm conducting a fun poll on Truth Social if you'd like to participate. Of course, we're going to get to the more serious news in just a second, but the poll question reads, if you can see it there, generally speaking, outside of news and politics, who's your favorite TV host? Is it Bob Barker, Steve Harvey, Johnny Carson, Dick Clark, Conan O'Brien, or Regis Philbin? The winner of this poll will take on Pat Sajak, Alex Trebek, Howie Mandel, Merv Griffin, and Howard Cosell in the next poll. I was thinking I should probably also add President Trump to that list, as he was a great TV host for The Apprentice. You don't think of President Trump as a TV host, but he was a TV host, and he did a dang good job there with The Apprentice. So maybe we'll add that name. Also, I was thinking, why not add Dr. Phil to that list? So again, if you'd like to take that poll, it's at Matthew Alvarez. Speaking of Donald Trump, quick trivia question. What song was playing when then candidate Trump came down the golden escalators in 2015? What song was it that was playing back in 2015 when he came down the golden escalators? I'll give you a second to think about it. If you don't know, Neil Young's "Rockin' in the Free World." Good stuff. All right, let's go now to the U.S. Department of State, where spokesperson Tammy Bruce recently posted a message on X. Take a look. Get to it in a second.
Tammy Bruce, and this is after the brief. Every briefing I love, it's my favorite. However, this briefing was particularly terrific because I got to announce the fact that we vetoed the World Health Organization's international health regulation amendments, which would have made them capable of declaring a global shutdown or even making a decision of what was a global threat when it comes to health. This ensures that health policy here in America is driven by and decided by Americans for Americans. Also on the good news front, President Trump had issued an executive order saying that we needed to review all the international organizations that we were involved with to make sure that they really followed up on the America First agenda. And one of the decisions has come in regarding the UN group called UNESCO, which purports to have an influence on and helps with culture and education and science around the world. Well, what we found was somewhat the opposite. And really, we deemed that, no, this is not a group that we are interested in being a part of. This is good news because, of course, we are not going to let woke international organizations determine where our money is spent or what influence we are going to have. We're America. We're going to make those decisions. And that one is now out. And on the front of making America safer, but in this case also Americans safer, wherever you might be, one thing we're telling you is do not go to Venezuela. You can learn about all of our travel alerts and other information at state.gov. I encourage you to go there. But if you remember one thing, what is it? Yeah, don't go to Venezuela. I'm Tammy Bruce. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
All right, so from the Department of State, let's go now to ICE and the Department of Homeland Security, the southern border and all of the situation happening there where the people coming across the border, those numbers have dropped off. I mean, much better than what happened under Biden. We're seeing a lot of great things happen along that southern border with our military, Customs Border Protection, and others. But within our country, let's switch now to the latest on the ICE numbers of the arrests. This released by the White House in a report. The numbers are surging nationwide. Let's take a look at some of those as we monitor what's happening out there in a 24/7 news cycle. Of course, we'll dive into the latest from Tulsi Gabbard when it comes to the Department of National Intelligence soon, and any other developments that we see out there when it comes to various cases that are out there under investigation. Also, let's go now to a number of states within our union when it comes to the arrests. So, the Trump administration's landmark public safety effort is making local news from coast to coast. Let's go to South Carolina. ICE arrests have more than tripled. Looking at arrests from this year, 47% are on people already facing one charge. 41% are people already convicted. Let's go now from South Carolina to Michigan. ICE arrests have jumped 154% since President Trump took office. From Michigan, let's go over to Minnesota. ICE arrests have doubled, and the time it takes to deport someone has been cut in half since President Trump took office. Let's go to Colorado and Wyoming. This a report from the White House in regards to the surging arrest numbers when it comes to ICE. In Colorado and Wyoming, there have been almost 5 times as many ICE arrests this year compared to the same period under Joe Biden. Let's go from that mountain time zone to the East Coast time zone in the Midwest, Ohio. New numbers on ICE arrests in Ohio show a shocking increase, having more than tripled since President Trump took office. Let's go now to the Silver State in Nevada. ICE arrests have jumped nearly 300% compared with the same time period in 2024. Let's go down to the Southeast, the volunteer state, Tennessee. Daily ICE arrests have more than doubled under President Trump, with the vast majority having a criminal conviction or a pending criminal charge. Let's go now to Maryland and Virginia. These numbers are literally staggering. Since Donald Trump's inauguration, ICE arrests in Maryland have jumped 290% and a staggering 470% in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Let's go one state south of Virginia to North Carolina. There has been a 160% increase in the number of daily arrests compared to the same period last year. Let's go to the great state, the deep south, right here in Alabama. ICE arrests have more than doubled compared to last year. Let's head out back west to Utah. ICE arrests have surged after President Trump's immigration crackdown, with numbers tripling in Utah and surrounding states since January. We'll get into that in just a second. Comparing the average daily arrest rate to 2024's rate, the Lone Star state of Texas is up 92%, Florida up 219%, And the Golden State, California, is up 123% in ICE arrests. This report from the White House. We'll be getting into a number of other stories we're following here at the network. And we're also standing by for the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, who will be speaking to reporters, it looks like, momentarily. So we'll go to that as soon as we see it. The number of unauthorized immigrants arrested each month by Immigration and Customs Enforcement has nearly tripled across 8 western states. This all according to the White House here. Utah, Idaho, Nevada, Montana, Arizona, Colorado, Wyoming, and California, all since President Trump took office. Let's go to the Grand Canyon state of Arizona. ICE arrests in southern Arizona have spiked dramatically since President Trump took office. These are all quotes and different reports from local news in various parts of the country. Let's go from Arizona all the way up to Chicago, where ICE arrested 3 times as many illegal immigrants convicted of crimes during the first 150 days of the Trump administration compared to Biden's final 150 days. Let's read that again. ICE arrested 3 times as many illegal immigrants convicted of crimes during the first 150 days of the Trump administration compared to Biden's final 150 days in office. And finally, from Chicago, let's go down to San Diego, California. It is, as they say there, America's finest city. They have that motto on the actual police cars there. San Diego, a gorgeous town. During the first 6 months of the second Trump administration, immigration arrests in San Diego have gone up 400% compared to this time last year. This is all information from the White House in a recent report about the ICE arrests that are surging. And anybody that's against that, well, if you or I or other people, we all just travel to some other country without paperwork, without a visa, without a passport, and if anybody had a criminal record, do you think that the other country would just simply let them waltz in there and do what they want? Well, that's a no-go in this country, and we have great people like Kristi Noem and border czar Tom Homan and others to say that's not going to happen here. And on top of that, we don't have to go over all of the terrible things that have happened at the hands of criminal illegal aliens. You think about other countries as well around the world. The migration problem is a real problem, and there are a lot of various countries right now having protests against all of this illegal immigration that's happening in their nation. I saw a video from Rebel News where there was, I think it was 6 countries holding protests. Real Toria Brooke on Truth Social spotted that, and I saw that on her account. But what we're seeing is the same thing in other countries where people are saying we don't want people that are from other countries that are here illegally, living off the system, committing crimes, and that kind of thing. Now, I can easily say that because if you guys looked on my Truth Social recently, my grandpa Alvarez from Cuba, without any sensitive information on there, I posted the naturalization papers of my grandpa. So nothing against legal immigration, but holy smokes, ICE arrests are up. All right, so at about 12:30, we're going to go to Bruce Lavelle, Atlanta businessman and longtime friend of President Trump, of course. Looking forward to that interview. All this while we monitor on Capitol Hill there, awaiting the Speaker of the House, who will be speaking to reporters, while we await the 1 o'clock press conference with Karoline Leavitt. At this hour, we are tracking new developments from the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, as well. In an ex-post that we have this morning, Director Gabbard said, quote, new evidence has emerged of the most egregious weaponization and politicization of intelligence in American history. Per President real Donald Trump's directive, I have declassified at House Intel Oversight Majority Staff report that exposes how the Obama administration manufactured the January 7, 2017 intelligence community assessment that they knew was false, promoting the lie that Vladimir Putin and the Russian government helped President Trump win the 2016 election. This is a new infographic brought to you by Tulsi Gabbard with the Department of National Intelligence. If you listened to President Trump last night during a meeting at the East Room of the White House, he was saying that Tulsi Gabbard is the hottest person in the room with all of the great work that she's doing. Tulsi Gabbard continuing on this X post saying, in doing so, they conspired to subvert the will of the American people, working with their partners in the media to promote the lie in order to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump, essentially enacting a years-long coup against him. You can go to the dni.gov website for the very latest on the story, or go to Tulsi Gabbard's X account. It's at DNI Gabbard. I have the link here. We may dive into that in just a bit to go over the specifics of the post from Tulsi as she continues to step up to the plate and do great work there at the Department of National Intelligence. Of course, White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller in a recent post said, quote, "There must be justice for the acts of sedition and criminal conspiracy waged by the deep state against real Donald Trump and the United States." So we have a lot of news coming at us, of course. I should probably get a teleprompter. The television screen's a little far back there. I've stumbled over some of the words, but at the end of the day, what we're looking to see is the simplicity of common sense in America. Freedom restored, the Constitution restored, and one way to do it is to take care of business on all fronts, and we're seeing that happen right now. And this is as we await any information, again, out of the DOJ when it comes to Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche, when it comes to anything with the Epstein case, when it comes to the DNI investigation, when they're sharing these reports, Tulsi is, with the DOJ and the FBI. So as we monitor any developments with any of those stories, we'll bring you the latest as we get it. Meantime, let's take another live look there, maybe at the U.S. Capitol building. I think inside there might be a live shot of a number of people awaiting the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. So a number of reporters there. So I'm told from our director that they just brought a microphone out there. That's where the Speaker of the House will speak. So as soon as that starts, we'll take you there live. And this is all as we stand by for the 1 o'clock White House press briefing with Karoline Leavitt. Looking forward to that. In the meantime, let's go to allfamilypharmacy.com, a great sponsor here at Right Side. If you've been frustrated with long pharmacy lines and insurance headaches, or just trying to get the medications you actually want, there's a better way. All Family Pharmacy is changing how people get their medications. No insurance, no red tape, just fast, reliable care shipped straight to your door. So they carry the essentials like NAD+, methylene blue, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, antibiotics, and get this, more than 200 more medications. Perfect for staying prepared, supporting your health, or building a well-stocked medicine cabinet with the treatments that matter. And also, they include a doctor's prescription, so no extra steps, no hassle. It's simple. Quality care from like-minded doctors and pharmacists who believe in one thing: to make America healthy again. So all I have to do is go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN and use the RSBN promo code RSBN10 to save 10% off. Let's shift from All Family Pharmacy to angelpaste.com in Spring, Texas. Of course, many products on the website there, including the flagship product, the Miracle Cream. You can get a discount using the RSBN promo code angelpaste.com, a great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. They hire military veterans. It's awesome to have them as a sponsor as we continue our live coverage on this Wednesday, July 23rd, 12:18 p.m. Thanks so much for streaming in with us as we continue to monitor all sorts of news stories happening out there. Let's shift gears slightly. Let's go to the U.S. Coast Guard. Recently, they posted a video about how they go the distance to protect our borders. Let's take a look. U.S. Coast Guard, of course. A lot of great videos that are posted all throughout our government when we're seeing things from the Department of State, the Department of Defense. Speaking of our government, let's go to Washington, D.C. here in a minute to the Capitol, on Capitol Hill, where the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, is speaking with reporters. That's happening as we speak. So let's go there right now.
Hey everybody, got a few thoughts for you as we work through today. Yesterday, some of you may have seen a false headline in the New York Times, and the headline was terribly misleading. It said House Republicans are, quote, adjourning until September to avoid a vote on releasing Epstein materials. I just want you to know, and everybody here knows, that's an outright lie. It's not true. And they were forced to modify their headline and update it today. The reason is, we all know that's the initial lie travels much faster than the truth, and so we're making sure that people know what is actually going on here. I think every single one of your publications have known that the published schedule of Congress was decided in December of 2024, and it's been published ever since. We are fulfilling the calendar. We're working. We'll be working tomorrow. There have been votes every day this week. We have 9 or 10 committees working through markups this week, many tomorrow. Congress is doing its work. No one is adjourning early. We have an August district work period that is very important to the function of Congress that has been recognized for all of memory of this institution, and that is what everyone will be doing. The Times was forced to change the headline because it was completely false. No one in Congress is blocking Epstein documents. No one in Congress is doing that. What we're doing here, Republicans are preventing Democrats from making a mockery of the Rules Committee process because we refuse to engage in their political charade. That is what is happening and nothing more. The way Democrats have tried to weaponize this issue is absolutely shameless, and I just want to say this. Democrats said nothing and did nothing, absolutely nothing, about bringing transparency for the entire 4 years of the Biden presidency. But now, all of a sudden, they want the American people to believe that they actually care. Their actions belie their words. We will not be lectured on transparency by the same party that orchestrated one of the most shameless, dangerous political cover-ups in the history of the United States. And that was President Biden's obvious mental decline. House Republicans stand for maximum transparency and truth. We always have and we always will. We're in lockstep with President Trump and his administration on this issue. We are pushing for the release of all credible information to be released with regard to the Epstein matter. I would note also that there are real issues, legal issues, with the CANA resolution, with the Massey resolution. CANA's has no protection whatsoever for the victims of these horrible, unspeakable sex crimes, and Massey's doesn't go far enough. Additionally, the President has directed the Department of Justice to pursue the release of grand jury information, and that is happening as we speak. In fact, the court is processing the DOJ's request for grand jury materials as we are standing here right now. That's a very important step. We'll evaluate any necessary measures that Congress needs to undertake when that process is completed. I'm convinced the administration is thoroughly reviewing all materials and working to release all credible information while also providing protection for victims. And I've been very clear and on the record many times that we have an obligation to do that, a legal obligation and a moral obligation to protect the people who have been the victims of these unspeakable crimes so that their names are not dragged through the mud. That's a fine needle to thread, and I'm convinced that the people who are in charge with this are doing it the right way, judiciously. The Trump administration is working through the court to unseal those documents. Most of the Epstein files are under court order and sealed, so you have to go through that route to do it. All that credible information needs to come out, but they deserve the space to do that in the way that it is supposed to be done, and they are. A thorough, judicious, meticulous review to truly protect innocent people who suffered. In the meantime, on a much brighter note, the House Republicans are looking forward to going back to their districts. They have a lot to be proud of and a lot of good news to share back home. It's just 6 months of this administration and this Congress. We work closely with President Trump. We've delivered on the mandate from the American people. We have the safest border now in the history of the country. Inflation is cooling. We passed one of the most consequential pieces of legislation in the history of this institution, the One Big Beautiful Bill. And what that did, as you know, was it secured the largest tax cut for American workers, the largest single investment in border security and national defense in generations, the largest reduction in spending in the history of any government on planet Earth, and much more. President Trump is making historic trade deals to balance the playing field and bring trillions of dollars of investment into America. As a side note, I will tell you, I was in the Oval Office last night for the historic moment where he made the trade deal with Japan. It was really something to see. I'll write a book about it one day. The Art of the Deal. It was a masterclass. We passed over 250 bills. We voted to codify 50 of President Trump's executive actions, and we're just getting started. He has signed into law so far important legislation like the Lake and Riley Act, the Halt Fentanyl Act, the Take It Down Act, the Genius Act, and of course the $9 billion rescissions package. In just 6 months, President Trump and House Republicans have made safer, stronger, and more prosperous America. We have worked to do that, fulfilling our campaign promises, and there's much more to come. And during the district work period, we'll be crisscrossing our districts and sharing with constituents the impact of all that hard work here on Capitol Hill. So I'll just conclude this and take a couple questions by saying, as we break apart here now to go home for the district work period, there's a lot to share with our constituents, a lot to share, a lot of good news, and we're looking forward to everyone feeling the positive effects of the work that's been done here so far. Couple questions.
Speaker, based on what?
Can I just ask you, do you feel like your Republican conference has gotten anything on this Epstein issue? You saw yesterday Comer announcing that there is going to be a subpoena for Karoline Maxwell. Do you support the House Oversight Committee's work, and do you support the work of your members who do want more transparency?
Well, of course. Look, there is no daylight between members of the House Republican Conference, or for that matter, between us and the White House. I fully support my committee chairs. Jamie Comer is a trusted friend. He's an excellent chairman of the Oversight Committee, and he has a duty and responsibility to follow the truth where it leads. And so every single one of us are for maximum transparency, and we'll use every power that we have to ensure that that's done. If they see fit to bring in Ghislaine Maxwell for testimony, that's fine. I will note the obvious concern, the caveat that Chairman Comer and I and everyone has, that could she be counted on to tell the truth? Is she a credible witness? I mean, this is a person who's been sentenced to many, many years in prison for terrible, unspeakable conspiratorial acts and acts against innocent young people. I mean, can we trust what she's going to say? Even if she raises her hand and says that she'll testify under oath, is that something that can be trusted? You know, that's a reasonable question. Is that credible evidence? I don't know. But we'll have to see. We have to, uncover everything that we can and let the American people evaluate.
Is there concern? I mean, obviously we've seen the conservatives shut down the House floor routinely. You saw that you had to pull the rule because of fear of the Epstein votes.
No, we don't have any fear. No, hold on. No, Reese, no. There's no fear here. No, there's no fear. There's no fear. We're not going to allow the Democrats to use this as a political cudgel. Remember, they had 4 years. Hold on. The Biden administration held the Epstein files for 4 years. Not a single one of these Democrats or anyone in Congress made any peep about that at all. They could have brought a discharge petition at any point in the last 4 years. They chose not to. They waited until President Trump was elected. I think that's very suspect. And I will not allow the House to be drug into political gamesmanship. Not going to do it.
Promises that Republicans made to voters over Jeffrey Epstein. Why not more of a sense of urgency? Why not just hold a vote today?
There's no point in having a vote today because the administration is already doing everything within their power to release them. They've gone to the grand jury. They've requested the courts to unseal the documents so that they can be released. The president himself has said all credible evidence should be put out to the American people while protecting the innocent. That's where we stand as well. There's no point in passing a resolution to urge the administration to do something that they are already doing. And so that's why we're going to let that process play out. This is not out of fear in any way. What we're trying to do is maximize transparency and stand for the truth. We want, wait, let me say this, very important. We want every single person who was involved in any way in the Epstein evils to be brought to swift justice. We want the full weight of the law to fall upon their head. And I will do everything within my power to make sure that is possible. That process is underway right now, and we'll see how it plays out.
Are you using the phrase that there's no daylight between you and the White House?
Yeah.
Don't you have a responsibility to build some daylight between you and the White House? You are a leader of a co-equal branch of government. Isn't part of what your members are concerned about is that there needs to be a second set of eyes?
I'm the leader of the most important branch of government. In my view, it is Article 1. And if I see that Article 1 and our authority is being breached in any way, I'll act upon it. I'm a jealous guardian of our responsibility here, our constitutional authority, and that most important branch of government, in a government of, by, and for the people. But I will tell you this right now. When I say there's no daylight between me and the president, we talk about this privately. He's spoken about it publicly. I have as well. He's trying to achieve the same exact objective that we are, that every member of the House Republican Conference wants to achieve, and that is to let the American people decide. This information should have come out a long time ago. I've been an advocate of that. We all have. But that process is underway right now. Now, we've got to jealously guard that and protect it and make sure it's happening. And if it doesn't, then we'll take appropriate action when everybody returns here. But we have to allow the court process to play out. That's how it works. I used to be a litigator. There is a standard here, a legal standard that everybody cannot forget. The courts, law enforcement, and government agencies have to protect the innocent. And the way you do that is you are very careful not to release names of victims or release it in a haphazard manner so that their names could be unmasked in some way, because it would destroy their lives. And anybody who's been swept up into that. So that's what the Justice Department is doing. I think they're doing a deliberate job right now, and our job as the Article I branch is to allow the executive to do that. If it doesn't come to fruition, then we will act, but we have to allow that time to process. Thank you.
President Obama committed treason.
All right, so moments ago there on Capitol Hill, you heard from the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, saying, quote, "No one is blocking Epstein documents." Before he started as well, interesting kind of point that he made speaking with the mainstream media. In general, we know that the mainstream media is on the left side of history, right? They like to share false narratives and lie in many cases. And the Speaker of the House said, "A lie travels much faster than the truth, so let me set the record straight here." And he did right there. So we'll follow any developments as we see it with the Epstein case. Also within the Department of National Intelligence, we're seeing again from Tulsi Gabbard as she continues to release more and more credible evidence as well when it comes to what happened in 2016 and 2020 and the alleged Obama involvement with it. And of course, the evidence and the receipts, Tulsi Gabbard has plenty of that, sending those reports to the FBI and the DOJ. We're monitoring both stories and any other investigations that come down the pike against the deep state. Now remember, Stephen Miller is the one that said as well, and so did President Trump just yesterday, in regards to a lot of this information. I'm going to go right to the quote here. I don't want to mess that quote up, because at the end of the day, it's all about accuracy. But let me get to it. I have to find it before I read it. So let me go to that right now. But in the meantime, as I look for that quote, we do know at 1 o'clock we'll have the press conference with Karoline Leavitt. And then we'll be going to the president a little bit later today. He'll be speaking at an AI summit, and he'll sign some executive orders as well. All right, so as I search for this quote here on my iPad, I cannot find it. There it is. Okay, so Stephen Miller said, "There must be justice for the acts of sedition and criminal conspiracy waged by the deep state against real Donald Trump and the United States." It's something that, on top of the 20 core promises to the American people, sealing the border, no men and women's sports, all of the 20 promises, one of them is to defend our Constitution. Another is to end the weaponization against the people. And the White House this week put out a post, or at least a report, in regards to the promises made, promises kept for each of those 20. Number 9 is very important, of course, ending the weaponization against we the people. We want all of these reforms to stay intact moving forward for our country, even into the next administration. And we don't want someone that's in there that's going to do any of the illegal acts that have happened over the past 4 years. We know that the lawfare against President Trump happened. We know the weaponization against the people happened. And what we want to have are our reforms locked in for the future of this country. And it has to happen through one of the main keys, according to a number of people we've spoken to here at the network, including T.S. Dixon recently, is the investigations and prosecutions, because we're seeing the evidence and the receipts already. So you have to do what's right, or you just don't. And that's the only option. There's no middle ground. All right, so let's do this. We watched a video earlier from the U.S. Coast Guard as they are continuing to do a great job. Not only are they helping with the southern border and, in various parts of the world when it comes to protecting the homeland, they're also saving countless lives when we've dealt with these floods in Texas and other places. Just a big shout out to the great Coast Guard and to our military branches and to Customs Border Protection as well. We did already play that Coast Guard video a minute ago, so we won't play that again at this point. But let's just start back off the top. We know that at 1 o'clock, we'll have the White House press conference with Karoline Leavitt. Then at 5 o'clock, President Trump will deliver remarks and will sign executive orders at the AI Summit at the Andrew Mellon Auditorium that's located right near the White House there. We'll have some more coverage coming up in just a minute. Before we continue on, if you'd like to donate to Right Side Broadcasting Network as we continue to expand here at the network, all you have to do is go to rsbnetwork.com/donate or go to RSBN to 801-801. So just text RSBN to 801-801. And if you'd like to give by check or cash, we're told that some people wanted to do that. So you can mail us a check at the P.O. Box. So it's 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama 36830. All right, coming up, we'll have Bruce Lavelle, longtime friend of President Trump, but also a senior advisor over the years, and also an Atlanta businessman doing great things for this country. Bruce Lavelle, thank you so much for joining us once again here on Right Side. Your thoughts about the fact that the small businesses of this country are the majority of the GDP, right? It's the backbone of the economy. Can you talk to us about that? Go ahead, Director, with what's going on. Okay, it sounds like the crew wants to come back for a second. Guys, can you show me programming if there's something going on? In the meantime, Bruce, yeah, they're talking in my ear, so I have to continue to kind of juggle a number of things here live right now. Go ahead, guys. Are we going to something?
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed, so join us and be part of the right side of history.
y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live Show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Well, that was fun. A little bit of tech difficulty there. Is what it is. It's part of live TV, and you just got to keep going. It's kind of like if you're a cornerback, let's just have a sports analogy for fun as we continue to cover this live coverage right now, and say a wide receiver burns you. Man, they just make a fake move, and they go and they score a touchdown. That cornerback has to have a short memory because you got to get back out there and keep on going and cover it the next time. It's kind of like what this is like. You know, when there's a tech difficulty like that. I watched a little bit of the replay. It was kind of fun to watch. Thanks so much for staying with us here on Right Side as we continue on. And if we can get Bruce Lavelle back on the program, great. If we can't, we'll just have to keep going. 19 minutes until the 1 o'clock hour. Of course, Karoline Leavitt is the press secretary that's holding the event coming up at 1 o'clock. So looking forward to that. A bit later today, 5 o'clock, the president will deliver remarks and signs executive orders at the AI Summit at the Andrew Mellon Auditorium, located, of course, right near the White House. President Trump will also travel to Scotland coming up this Friday. He'll return to the States on Tuesday, July 29th. We can also go back soon to the Speaker of the House answering a number of questions from reporters. We'll do that in just a minute. Meantime, at this hour, we're monitoring those new developments within the Department of National Intelligence regarding its reporting to the DOJ and FBI regarding the alleged Obama-related election interference in 2016 and 2020. We'll get any updates as we get them. We're also monitoring any developments from the DOJ regarding the Epstein case. So again, as we get that information, we'll share that with you here live on the network. All right, why don't we do this? Since we've got about 18 minutes to go, if we can get Bruce Lavelle back on, great. If not, let's shift gears. Let's do a lighter note of news, and then we'll bring it right back up to the serious topics that are being discussed throughout conservative media and by a lot of people out there when it comes to our country. As you know, President Trump recently chimed in on late night TV host saying, quote, "The word is, and it's a strong word at that Jimmy Kimmel is next to go in the untalented late night sweepstakes, and shortly thereafter, Fallon will be gone." And director, do we have this post? There we go. These are people with absolutely no talent who were paid millions of dollars for, in all cases, destroying what used to be great television. President Trump said it's really good to see them go, and I hope they played a major role in it, or a major part in it. Now, on the heels of that post, I'm conducting a poll at Matthew Alvarez on Truth Social if you'd like to participate. Again, we're going to get back into the serious stuff in a second, trust me. The poll question reads, generally speaking, outside of news and politics, who's your favorite TV host? Is it Bob Barker, Steve Harvey, Johnny Carson, Dick Clark, Conan O'Brien, or Regis Philbin? The winner of that poll will take on Pat Sajak, Alex Trebek, Howie Mandel, Merv Griffin, and Howard Cosell in the next poll. I should also probably add President Trump to that list, as he was obviously a great host for The Apprentice. I should also add Dr. Phil to that list. Speaking of Donald Trump, quick trivia question. What song was playing when then candidate Trump came down the golden escalators in 2016, actually 2015? Do you know what song was being played over the speakers there? Give you a second. Neil Young's Rockin' in the Free World. All right, that was fun. I did that earlier in the broadcast. Thought I'd do it again since we lost a very important interview there. Maybe we'll get back to it. But in the meantime, of course, we're monitoring any news that happens here at the network. Of course, one of the news items that just happened within this hour that you may have seen, for those of you just joining us, let's return to Capitol Hill, where Speaker of the House Mike Johnson was addressing a number of questions. He actually started out with a statement, and then he received a number of questions. Director Reed, do we have that ready to go? All right, so we're getting that one ready to go here as we are live right now at 12:45, Wednesday, July 23rd. Let's take a look at from Capitol Hill.
Hey everybody, got a few thoughts for you as we work through today. Yesterday, some of you may have seen a false headline in the New York Times, and the headline was terribly misleading. It said House Republicans are, quote, adjourning until September to avoid a vote on releasing Epstein materials. I just want you to know, and everybody here knows, that's an outright lie. It's not true. And they were forced to modify their headline and update it today. The reason is, we all know that's the initial lie travels much faster than the truth, and so we're making sure that people know what is actually going on here. I think every single one of your publications have known that the published schedule of Congress was decided in December of 2024, and it's been published ever since. We are fulfilling the calendar. We're working. We'll be working tomorrow. There have been votes every day this week. We have 9 or 10 committees working through markups this week, many tomorrow. Congress is doing its work. No one is adjourning early. We have an August district work period that is very important to the function of Congress, that has been recognized for all of memory of this institution, and that is what everyone will be doing. The Times was forced to change the headline because it was completely false. No one in Congress is blocking Epstein documents. No one in Congress is doing that. What we're doing here, Republicans are preventing Democrats from making a mockery of the Rules Committee process because we refuse to engage in their political charade. That is what is happening and nothing more. The way Democrats have tried to weaponize this issue is absolutely shameless, and I just want to say this. Democrats said nothing and did nothing, absolutely nothing, about bringing transparency for the entire 4 years of the Biden presidency. But now, all of a sudden, they want the American people to believe that they actually care. Their actions belie their words. We will not be lectured on transparency by the same party that orchestrated one of the most shameless, dangerous political cover-ups in the history of the United States. And that was President Biden's obvious mental decline. House Republicans stand for maximum transparency and truth. We always have and we always will. We're in lockstep with President Trump and his administration on this issue. We are pushing for the release of all credible information to be released with regard to the Epstein matter. I would note also that there are real issues, legal issues, with the Kana resolution, with the Massey resolution. Kana's has no protection whatsoever for the victims of these horrible, unspeakable sex crimes, and Massey's doesn't go far enough. Additionally, the President has directed the Department of Justice to pursue the release of grand jury information, and that is happening as we speak. In fact, the court is processing the DOJ's request for grand jury materials as we are standing here right now. That's a very important step. We'll evaluate any necessary measures that Congress needs to undertake when that process is completed. I'm convinced the administration is thoroughly reviewing all materials and working to release all credible information while also providing protection for victims. And I've been very clear and on the record many times that we have an obligation to do that, a legal obligation and a moral obligation to protect the people who have been the victims of these unspeakable crimes so that their names are not dragged through the mud. That's a fine needle to thread, and I'm convinced that the people who are in charge with this are doing it the right way, judiciously. The Trump administration is working through the court to unseal those documents. Most of the Epstein files are under court order and sealed, so you have to go through that route to do it. All that credible information needs to come out, but they deserve the space to do that in the way that it is supposed to be done, and they are. A thorough, judicious, meticulous review to truly protect innocent people who suffer. In the meantime, on a much brighter note, the House Republicans are looking forward to going back to their districts. They have a lot to be proud of and a lot of good news to share back home. It's just 6 months of this administration and this Congress. We work closely with President Trump. We've delivered on the mandate from the American people. We have the safest border now in the history of the country. Inflation is cooling. We passed one of the most consequential pieces of legislation in the history of this institution, the One Big Beautiful Bill. And what that did, as you know, was it secured the largest tax cut for American workers, the largest single investment in border security and national defense in generations, the largest reduction in spending in the history of any government on planet Earth, and much more. President Trump is making historic trade deals to balance the playing field and bring trillions of dollars of investment into America. As a side note, I will tell you, I was in the Oval Office last night for the historic moment where he made the trade deal with Japan. It was really something to see. I'll write a book about it one day. The Art of the Deal. It was a masterclass. We passed over 250 bills. We voted to codify 50 of President Trump's executive actions, and we're just getting started. He has signed into law so far important legislation like the Lake and Riley Act, the Halt Fentanyl Act, the Take It Down Act, the Genius Act, and of course the $9 billion rescissions package. In just 6 months, President Trump and House Republicans have made safer, stronger, and more prosperous America. We have worked to do that, fulfilling our campaign promises, and there's much more to come. And during the district work period, we'll be crisscrossing our districts and sharing with constituents the impact of all that hard work here on Capitol Hill. So I'll just conclude this and take a couple questions by saying, as we break apart here now to go home for the district work period, there's a lot to share with our constituents, a lot to share, a lot of good news, and we're looking forward to everyone feeling the positive effects of the work that's been done here so far. Comes
Mr. Speaker, based on what...
Can I just ask you, do you feel like your Republican conference has gotten lengthened on this Epstein issue? You saw yesterday Comer announcing that there is going to be a subpoena for Karoline Maxwell. Do you support the House Oversight Committee's work, and do you support the work of your members who do want more transparency?
Well, of course. Look, there is no daylight between members of the House Republican Conference, or for that matter, between us and the White House. I fully support my committee chairs. Jamie Comer is a trusted friend. He's an excellent chairman of the Oversight Committee, and he has a duty and responsibility to follow the truth where it leads. And so every single one of us are for maximum transparency, and we'll use every power that we have to ensure that that's done. If they see fit to bring in Ghislaine Maxwell for testimony, that's fine. I will note the obvious concern, the caveat that Chairman Comer and I and everyone has, that could she be counted on to tell the truth? Is she a credible witness? I mean, this is a person who's been sentenced to many, many years in prison for terrible, unspeakable conspiratorial acts and acts against innocent young people. I mean, can we trust what she's going to say? Even if she raises her hand and says that she'll testify under oath, is that something that can be trusted? You know, that's a reasonable question. Is that credible evidence? I don't know. But we'll have to see. We have to, uncover everything that we can and let the American people evaluate.
Is there concern? I mean, obviously we've seen the conservatives shut down the House floor routinely. You saw that you had to pull the rule because of fear of Epstein votes.
No, we don't have any fear. No, hold on. No, Reese, no. There's no fear here. No, there's no fear. There's no fear. We're not going to allow the Democrats to use this as a political cudgel. Remember, they had 4 years. Hold on. The Biden administration held the Epstein files for 4 years. Not a single one of these Democrats or anyone in Congress made any peep about that at all. They could have brought a discharge petition at any point in the last 4 years. They chose not to. They waited until President Trump was elected. I think that's very suspect. And I will not allow the House to be drug into political gamesmanship. Not going to do it.
The promises that Republicans made to voters over Jeffrey Epstein, why not more of a sense of urgency? Why not just hold a vote today?
There's no point in having a vote today because the administration is already doing everything within their power to release them. They've gone to the grand jury. They've requested the courts to unseal the documents so that they can be released. The president himself has said all credible evidence should be put out to the American people while protecting the innocent. That's where we stand as well. There's no point in passing a resolution to urge the administration to do something that they are already doing. And so that's why we're going to let that process play out. This is not out of fear in any way. What we're trying to do is maximize transparency and stand for the truth. Let me say this, very important. We want every single person who was involved in any way in the Epstein evils to be brought to swift justice. We want the full weight of the law to fall upon their head. And I will do everything within my power to make sure that is possible. That process is underway right now, and we'll see how it plays out.
Are you using the phrase that there's no daylight between you and the White House?
Yeah.
Don't you have a responsibility to build some daylight between you and the White House? You are a leader of a co-equal branch of government. Isn't part of what your members are concerned about is that there needs to be a second set of eyes?
I'm the leader of the most important branch of government. In my view, it is Article 1. And if I see that Article 1 and our authority is being breached in any way, I'll act upon it. I'm a jealous guardian of our responsibility here, our constitutional authority, and that most important branch of government, and a government of, by, and for the people. But I will tell you this right now. When I say there's no daylight between me and the president, we talk about this privately. He's spoken about it publicly. I have as well. He's trying to achieve the same exact objective that we are, that every member of the House Republican Conference wants to achieve, and that is to let the American people decide. This information should have come out a long time ago. I've been an advocate of that. We all have. But that process is underway right now. Now, we've got to jealously guard that and protect it and make sure it's happening. And if it doesn't, then we'll take appropriate action when everybody returns here. But we have to allow the court process to play out. That's how it works. I used to be a litigator. There is a standard here, a legal standard that everybody cannot forget. The courts, law enforcement, and government agencies have to protect the innocent. And the way you do that is you are very careful not to release names of victims or release it in a haphazard manner so that their names could be unmasked in some way, because it would destroy their lives. And anybody who's been swept up into that. So that's what the Justice Department is doing. I think they're doing a deliberate job right now, and our job as the Article I branch is to allow the executive to do that. If it doesn't come to fruition, then we will act, but we have to allow that time to process. Thank you.
President Obama committed treason.
All right, so as we await the live feed to the White House press briefing room, all of this brought to you by All Family Pharmacy. If you've been frustrated with long pharmacy lines, insurance headaches, or just trying to get the medications you actually want, there's a better way. All Family Pharmacy is changing how people get their medications. So no insurance needed, no red tape, just fast, reliable care shipped straight to your door. They carry the essentials like NAD+, methylene blue, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, antibiotics, and more than 200 medications. So it's perfect for staying prepared, supporting your health, or building a well-stocked medicine cabinet with the treatments that matter. And also, every order includes a doctor's prescription, so there's no extra steps, no hassle. It's simple. Quality care from like-minded doctors and pharmacists who believe in one thing: making America healthy again. So all you have to do is go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN 10 promo code, save some money there. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. As we are about 4 minutes away from the top of the hour, this also brought to you by callsheet.com/RSBN as well. You can download the app if you'd like. You can go to the website. You can also use that QR code. All about all sorts of topics out there, whether it's finance or entertainment, pop culture. How about what we talked about earlier, all the different kinds of TV hosts that are out there outside of news and politics. There's so many different things you can check out on callsheet.com/RSBN, including politics and faith and all sorts of stuff. So callsheet.com/RSBN. Great sponsor here at Right Side, as we're about 3 minutes from the top of the hour. Meantime, at this hour, we're monitoring any new developments within the Department of National Intelligence regarding its reporting to the DOJ and the FBI regarding Obama-related election interference, according to Tulsi Gabbard, according to President Trump. We've been seeing a lot of the receipts and a lot of the evidence there, so we'll see what happens next. We'll get to any of the details as we get them. Also, of course, monitoring this press conference. We're going to hear from the great Karoline Leavitt here in just a few minutes. In the meantime, we heard from Tammy Bruce earlier in regards to the Department of State, and also we played a video from the Coast Guard in regards to all the great work that they're doing out there. As we bring you a lot of live coverage today, this is our second live stream. Earlier it was from CPAC, a summit there in Washington, D.C., all about stopping human trafficking. So Kristi Noem spoke at that event, so if you want to check out that live stream, you can do so. Also, later today, President Trump will speak at an AI summit, all to sign some executive orders, but also to deliver remarks there. So that's at 5 o'clock. We'll also have some coverage prior to that right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. So a lot of juggling going on, but a lot of live content as well. A lot for our country moving forward here on Wednesday, July 23rd. All right, let's go to some specifics from the White House pretty recently when it comes to the ICE arrests that are surging nationwide. So the White House actually released a report pretty recently about this. The Trump administration's landmark public safety effort is making local news from coast to coast. So let's start out in the Palmetto State, South Carolina, before we go to the White House there. As soon as we see Karoline, we'll go there, of course. But in South Carolina, according to the White House, ICE arrests have more than tripled. Looking at arrests from this year, 47% are on people already facing one charge. 41% are people already convicted. Now in Michigan, ICE arrests have jumped, get this, 154% since President Trump took office some 6 months and change ago. Let's go from Michigan to Minnesota. ICE arrests have doubled, and the time it takes to deport someone has been cut in half since President Trump took office. Let's head out to the West Coast, or at least the Mountain Time Zone, Colorado and Wyoming. There have been almost 5 times as many ICE arrests this year compared to the same period under Biden. From the Mountain Time Zone, let's go over to Ohio, the East Coast. Even though it's the Midwest right there, still East Coast time there. New numbers on ICE arrests in Ohio show a shocking increase, having more than tripled since President Trump took office. From Ohio, let's head back out west to the Silver State. According to the White House, Nevada, ICE arrests have jumped nearly 300% compared with the same time period in 2024. Now down to the Southeast in Tennessee, the volunteer state. What a great state. All of them are great states, but I used to live in Tennessee. Man, it's a good state. Daily ICE arrests have more than doubled under President Trump, with the vast majority having a criminal conviction or a pending criminal charge. Let's go now to Maryland and Virginia. Here are the numbers again. These are the ICE arrest numbers. Since Donald Trump's inauguration, ICE arrests in Maryland have jumped 290%, a staggering 470% increase in the Commonwealth of Virginia. If we go one state to the south, North Carolina, there have been a 160% increase in the number of daily arrests compared to the same time last year. Let's go deep south to Alabama, great state of Alabama here. ICE arrests have more than doubled compared to last year. I'm going to stop there before I continue on with the list as we await the press secretary. You know, a lot of times on the left-wing media, they're so against this kind of thing. And you hear these people out there protesting against ICE arrests. Well, if all of us that are watching right now, we all decided, let's just go to Portugal. Let's just go see Ronaldo play in soccer in Portugal. But let's not bring a visa. Let's not bring a passport. Let's all take a boat over there and then just somehow get over to Portugal. And then maybe half of the audience are involved in bad things. And then will Portugal just be like, yeah, come on in, it's all good? It's the same thing that's happening here in this country. We don't want that to happen here. You have to have your visa, you have to have a passport, and of course, come here legally, like my grandpa did. I posted, without any sensitive information, the naturalization papers from my grandpa Alvarez out of Cuba. And long story short, my great-grandpa worked at Pan Am up in New York. That MetLife building on Park Avenue used to say Pan Am. Well, he transferred to Havana, Cuba. My great-grandpa did. And the rest is history. But anyway, so enough of the bull you-know-what from the left-wing media and these people that are trying to come against our great ICE officers, our great Customs Border Protection agents, the great Tom Homan, who you can't get anything past that guy. Remember when he was speaking at the tvOS event just the other day in Tampa? Some heckler tried to mess with him. Good luck. Let's get back to some more of the numbers as we await Karoline Leavitt. All right, so let's go to Utah. ICE arrests have surged after President Trump's immigration crackdown, with numbers tripling in Utah and surrounding states since January. Comparing the average daily arrest rate to 2024's rate, Texas is up 92%. Florida is up 219%. California up 123%. The number, this is a quote from some local media there. According to the White House, they sent this report to various media, actually all media that's signed up for the White House press releases. So I'm simply reading from that right now. The number of unauthorized immigrants arrested each month by Immigration and Customs Enforcement has nearly tripled across 8 western states: Utah, Idaho, Nevada, Montana, Arizona, Colorado, Wyoming, and California. I really love the state of Colorado too. Not the politics as much. What a beautiful state that is. I started out in local reporting out in western Colorado. Beautiful area. ICE arrests in southern Arizona have spiked dramatically since President Trump took office. Let's go from the Southwest all the way up to the Midwest. Chicago. ICE arrests There are 3 times as many illegal immigrants convicted of crimes during the first 150 days of the Trump administration compared to the Biden's final 150 days in office. And finally, to wrap up this ICE arrest report from the White House just sent yesterday, during the first 6 months of the second Trump administration, immigration arrests in the San Diego region have gone up 400% compared to this time last year. If you've ever been to Southern California, that's my favorite city in California is San Diego. I've been to San Francisco. I had aunt and uncle live in Sacramento. I've been to LA and all up and down that coast. But man, make California great. And that's done through making it red and making all of us hopefully vote on the right side of history. You don't want Gavin Newsom running that state, but unfortunately he is right now. All right, so it's 1:05, Wednesday, July 23rd. Let's go over some of the headlines that we're following here on Right Side Broadcasting Network, monitoring those new developments within the Department of National Intelligence regarding its reporting to the DOJ and FBI regarding Obama-related election interference in 2016 and 2020. That, according to Tulsi Gabbard and the president and many others, talking about the receipts and the evidence on that. As we get information, we'll share it with you. Also monitoring any developments from the DOJ regarding the Epstein case. We hear anything, we'll report it. And that is also along the same lines of the 6 months of accomplishments that we've seen from President Trump. And we'll be hearing a lot about various topics coming up here in just a minute as we're standing by awaiting Karoline Leavitt there at the White House for this press briefing. Also, if you'd like to follow Right Side on Truth Social and on X, all you have to do is go to @RSBN on Truth Social, @RSB Network on X. Several million people following on both of those platforms. Also, you can watch us on Rumble, of course. Many of you are. Some other places, of course, YouTube, X, Facebook, our app, Truth Social Plus, which is a brand new thing out there. So it's great to see so many people watching throughout the country and in some cases around the world, because America leads the way in a lot of things, as you guys know. So people want to know about American media. They're fascinated with American media in some countries, including President Trump and what he's up to. So it's great to cover it, and we're on the right side of history and not doing the false narrative stuff that the left wing likes to do every day of their lives, unfortunately. You could still be professional and courteous and all that, but still outside of that, the lies that are spoken. No wonder the press wants to be so close to the president, because as soon as he says something, they get a quick chance to write something that's a lie and go report it to the world. No wonder there's a White House, back in the day, Correspondents Association. I mean, it's still there, but now we have conservative media, new media. These are the people that are on the right side of history, right? These are the people that represent the voice of America, legit voice of you guys. And that's Right Side Broadcasting Network and many other conservative outlets, because we've had enough. We feel what you feel. We're not detached from that. We're not paid by some stupid corporation to tell us what to say. This is just us. We tell it like it is. That's what President Trump does. That's what I like to do. That's what we like to do here at this network. And I'm sure you hear that from other conservative media people that are on air. So it's great to be with you guys as we continue on this live coverage at 1:05 Eastern. Also, just to tone it down a bit, if you want to go to my Truth Social @MatthewAlvarez, if you want to look up the one poll that I'm doing out there about the TV hosts, you'll know what I mean when you go there. Please go ahead and vote, as about 160 people have voted so far. It's not a million, but whatever. It's still 160 people that are on Truth Social, most of them great patriots on the right side of history. So thanks so much for streaming in, standing by here for Karoline Leavitt. Looking forward to hearing from her. In the meantime, maybe we can go split screen with another spokesperson. Let's go to the Department of State, the great Tammy Bruce, just like the great Karoline Leavitt. Take a look at what she has to say.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tammy Bruce, and this is After the Brief. Every briefing I love, it's my favorite. However, this briefing was particularly terrific because I got to announce the fact that we vetoed the World Health Organization's international health regulation amendments, which would have made them capable of declaring a global shutdown or even making a decision of what was a global threat when it comes to health. This ensures that health policy here in America is driven by and decided by Americans for Americans. Also on the good news front, President Trump had issued an executive order saying that we needed to review all the international organizations that we were involved with to make sure that they really followed up on the America First agenda. And one of the decisions has come in regarding the UN group called UNESCO, which purports to have an influence on and helps with culture and education and science around the world. Well, what we found was somewhat the opposite. And really, we deemed that no, this is not a group that we are interested in being a part of. This is good news because, of course, we are not going to let woke international organizations determine where our money is spent or what influence we are going to have. We're America, we're going to make those decisions, and that one is now out. And on the front of making America safer, but in this case also Americans safer, wherever you might be, one thing we're telling you is do not go to Venezuela. You can learn about all of our travel alerts and other information at state.gov. I encourage you to go there. But if you remember one thing, what is it? Yeah, don't go to Venezuela. I'm Tammy Bruce. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Okay, so one press secretary to another, Karoline Leavitt, about to step up to that podium there live here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. In the meantime, while we await the greatest of all time press secretary, Karoline Leavitt, let's go to Tulsi Gabbard's X page, and maybe we could pull up that graphic maybe on a split screen as we kind of go over some of the information that we're hearing from the Department of National Intelligence there. As I pull up that site, X, right now with Tulsi Gabbard. She has this as one of the infographics that are up. Guys, are we able to split screen with the live White House just in case? Okay, so let's do this. Let's have the split screen of the White House instead, just in case Karoline steps up. But this graphic here, you guys can check out if you'd like. It's at DNI Gabbard. At DNI Gabbard is where all this information is, and DNI.gov. Americans will finally learn the truth about how in 2016 intelligence was politicized and weaponized by the most powerful people in the Obama administration to lay the groundwork for what was essentially a years-long coup against President real Donald Trump, subverting the will of the American people and undermining our democratic republic. So she goes into saying, here's how. So specifically, we're hearing from Tulsi Gabbard, for months preceding the 2016 election, the intelligence community shared a consensus view that Russia lacked the intent and capability to hack U.S. elections. But weeks after President Trump's historic 2016 victory defeating Hillary Clinton, everything changed. So as we continue to look at various posts here, we're seeing from Tulsi Gabbard here. I just want to get to the latest post, though. This is that one that I was just sharing with you was about from a few days ago. But this one here says, new evidence has emerged of the most egregious weaponization and politicization of intelligence in American history. Per President Donald Trump's directive, I have declassified a House Intel Oversight Majority Staff report that exposes how the Obama administration manufactured the 2017 intelligence community assessment that they knew was false, promoting the lie that Vladimir Putin and the Russian government helped President Trump win the 2016 election. Tulsi Gabbard continuing on. If you'd like to follow, if you're watching this on a TV or an iPad, if you want to follow on your phone, if you just go to at DNI Gabbard or DNI.gov. This is all information that the White House just posted as well in regards to diving into this Department of National Intelligence report that's going to the FBI and DOJ. In doing so, as Tulsi continues here, they conspire to subvert the will of the American people, working with their partners in the media. oh my, we know how that works, working with their partners in the mainstream media, I'm adding the word mainstream there, to promote the lie in order to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump, essentially enacting a years-long coup against him. So here are the top Obama-Russia hoax lies debunked by today's release. So that's where you guys can continue on there. And it's the same thing that I'm doing here. We're doing our due diligence to know what the heck's going on when it comes to this Department of National Intelligence report that's going to the FBI and going to the DOJ. So you can check that out if you have X at DNI Gabbard. If you don't have X, and maybe you're just on Truth Social like I am right now, you can go to dni.gov as well to see the entire release. So you're fully informed on all of the evidence and the receipts into what happened in 2016 and 2020. On top of that, we'll be able to bring you the latest information as we get it when it comes to DNI and when it comes to the DOJ and any Epstein case information. So those are the two obviously big stories that we're seeing out there on top of all of the accomplishments that we've been seeing by President Trump and this team moving forward. So looking forward to seeing Karoline Leavitt there. In the meantime, let's go to angelpace.com, one of our great sponsors here at the network, out of Spring, Texas, of course. All you have to do is go to angelpace.com, use that RSBN promo code. You'll get a percentage off the Miracle Cream there and other products as well. They hire military veterans and a great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, so it's 1:15 Eastern Time. Thanks so much for everything, for tuning in here to Right Side Broadcasting Network. Let's go to mypillow.com/RSBN as well. Free shipping sale as we're getting ready to go to the White House press briefing, but without these sponsors, we wouldn't be able to bring you all of this live coverage. And so if you get a chance, please go to mypillow.com/RSBN. More than 2,000 products available for you there. And free shipping. Always good for some free shipping using the RSBN promo code. Great sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, so it's 1:16 Wednesday, July 23rd. Thanks again for streaming in with us. A bit of a programming note, the president will be at a AI summit coming up a little bit later today. It's right near the White House at the Andrew Mellon Auditorium. He'll be signing some executive orders and speaking there about artificial intelligence. That's a bit later. Our broadcast is scheduled as of now to start around 3:30 Eastern. Robert McNeely will be in studio for that coverage, as we'll see the president a bit later. And then on top of that, what we know is on Friday, President Trump will be traveling to Scotland. He'll be coming back to the States on Tuesday, July 29th. So if there's any live feeds or any recorded feeds, whether we bring it to you live here on the channel or we'll post it on various social media platforms for you guys to check out any of that overseas coverage as well. So as for tomorrow, as of now, we don't have information on the specifics to the president's schedule because it usually is posted or shared with the media at night, the night before. So if you follow me on Truth Social, there are times where I post and say, hey, tomorrow at the White House, 1 o'clock is the White House press briefing. It's because we receive those emails, that correspondence, and then we share that with you. So as soon as we get that information, we'll be able to share that with you as we have more live coverage tomorrow coming up here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. So many news stories to talk about, so many interviews to be had. And if you've missed an interview with the conservative analyst and author T.S. Dixon earlier this week, really breaking down and bringing a lot of insight, breaking down a lot of good information and providing insight on various topics. You might want to check out T.S. Dixon, just really somebody that's kind of new on the scene, but really spitting a lot of truth out there. And that's what we want as people of this country. We want people that tells it like it is. And President Trump really, since 2015, really showed everyone, hey, this is kind of like Montel Jordan. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. You want to get on the right side of history. You got to be real. You got to be straight up. And that's what we like. And so the bar has been set very high for any future presidents. And we really want those 20 core promises to the American people, ending the weaponization of government against the people, defending our Constitution, sealing the border, no men and women's sports, all of the above. We want those reforms to stay here. We want the Constitution to stay the law of the land moving forward to the next administration, whoever that president may be. Because if we don't take care of business now when it comes to the deep state, let's be straight up, then we're going to have to deal with a lot, I think, worse than what it was like under Biden. So there's a lot to be done, and this is quite the time to cover the news. And it's quite the time that all of you, and just everyone that's watching right now, whether it's right side or whether you watch conservative media, that kind of thing, you know, a shout out to every American that really just cares about their country, loves God, family, and country, and really wants to stay in the know. And I'll be straight up with you guys. There are a lot of you out there that I see these comments that are so on point with what's needed to be done for our country. It's great to see it. So it's great to be informed. That's why we're in this information age. We have everything we need right here, right? We'll see what happens with the robotics age coming up. Maybe the Bible end time stuff will be happening very soon. I mean, some of it is. That's for a different story or a different day. As it's 1:20 Eastern, Wednesday, July 23rd. Let's go to All Family Pharmacy right now as we await Karoline Leavitt there live in the press briefing room. So if you've been frustrated with any of those long pharmacy lines or insurance headaches or just trying to get the medications you actually want, there's a better way. It's with All Family Pharmacy. They're changing how people get their medications. So there's no insurance needed, no red tape, just fast, reliable care shipped straight to your door. So they carry some of the essentials, NAD+, kind of new on the scene, methylene blue, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, antibiotics, and more than 200 more medications. Perfect for staying prepared, supporting your health, or building a well-stocked medicine cabinet with the treatments that matter. And guess what? Every order actually includes the doctor's prescription. So no extra steps, no hassle. It's simple, quality care from like-minded doctors and pharmacists who believe in one thing: to make America healthy again. All you have to do is go to allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Use that RSBN10 promo code. You'll get 10% off your order. Again, that's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN for that 10% off. All right, so we've had a number of live events so far today. It started out, I believe it was 8 this morning. 8 o'clock this morning, we covered an event, a CPAC summit, all about stopping human trafficking. So that is a broadcast you can watch from earlier. And of course, we've been live since 12 o'clock Eastern time, 9 o'clock out there on the West Coast, and awaiting Karoline Leavitt, the great press secretary, there at the White House, good old 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. It's something to see the American flags that are out there in the front now, in the front lawn and the south lawn, and seeing Old Glory high above, and it's great to see that. I don't know about you, but every time I see that flag, I don't know, if you follow me on Truth, you know, I posted something just the other day, and it was near Camping World. You know those huge campers, right? Camping World, that store. They always fly the big American flags. Something about just seeing that flag just makes me like, man, I love this country. Let's keep that freedom going. Let's keep the you know, get our streets safe. Let's do things that are on the right side of history. All the common sense stuff, not this bogus confusion that we hear from the left-wing lamestream media, as the great late Rush Limbaugh used to call them. Glad to be on the right side with you guys, man. I tell you, it's good to be here. It's good to be here. All right, so 1:22, awaiting Karoline Leavitt. Again, we're monitoring a lot of news going on. If you're just joining us right now, we've talked about every story you can think of pretty much within the 24/7 news cycle. Of course, we want truth. We want transparency. We want to see the investigation unfold, and if there is prosecution, which if there's evidence and receipts, which Tulsi Gabbard says there is, and she's showing it to us in regards to the 2016-2020 election situation, where Barack Obama recently said it was misinformation and all that. Well, you can't, you know, if you go against the truth, you're going to lose. What else is there to say, you know? It's all common sense stuff. So anyway, now's a good time for Karoline Leavitt to pick it up from here, huh? Thanks again for joining us live. If you'd like to follow again on Truth Social for Right Side, it's at RSBN. And then X is at RSB Network. My name is Matthew Alvarez. If you want to follow on Truth Social, it's at Matthew Alvarez. And then, of course, Robert McNeely is also on Truth Social. He'll be in the studio a bit later as he covers the president for the AI summit that's happening right near the White House. He'll be signing some executive orders. And I don't know about you, but if you watched President Trump last night from the East Room of the White House, man, it's good to hear him talk and to be just kind of the guy that we know him to be, someone that just tells it like it is. So as we see from the investigation when it comes to the DNI and when it comes to the deep state and any prosecutions that happen, we'll cover those. But at the end of the day, when we see Anna Paulina Luna talking about that declassification task force that she discussed months ago in regards to the Epstein files, the 9/11 files, the COVID files, these are things that she was talking about. She said UFO files. She said the JFK, RFK, MLK Jr. assassination files. We are seeing the assassination files for MLK just released as well. President Trump says any credible evidence for the Epstein files, release them. We want to see that. We all get that. So what else is there to say other than let's keep on keeping on. Let's win this thing for our country. As of right now, no word yet on any Trump rallies in the future, but I can guarantee you for the midterms, 2026 is going to be quite the rush when it comes to that 24/7 news cycle as well, because the midterms are, as you guys know, very, very important to win, to keep control of the House and the Senate. Of course, we already have the right guy as president in the White House. So, the motto was for this past election was make it too big to rig, right? Well, hopefully we won't even have to have that even as a motto any longer. But coming up for the midterms, man, let's make sure we get out the vote for that in November of next year. Speaking of next year, July 4th will be the America 250, that huge 250th event from Iowa. So we'll have coverage in conservative media, I'm sure. And we'll see. Will the mainstream media cover things like that? I don't think they've covered a lot of stuff recently because they want to shift attention. They always want to shift your attention. They're starving for your attention. They want you to be swayed by public opinion because they say it on that news network. It's a bunch of BS. We love the truth. Come on. We want our country to win. And when we win, it's good for the country. It's good for freedom. It's good for the Constitution. It's good for our families. It's good for our safety. It's good for our pocketbook. It's good for gas prices. It's good. Come on now. Am I going to start preaching here today? Yeah, I'm live. I know I'm live, guys. So here's the thing. Really looking forward to seeing Karoline Leavitt there. And again, this isn't going to be the same old media on the conservative side. This is tell it like it is and just, have fun too while you're winning. And we see that President Trump is a winner. And we, the people, all of you guys watching around this country as we await Karoline Leavitt right now, you guys are winners. All of you, every one of you. And if you're on the left side of the aisle watching right now and you don't like the Constitution, you don't like the country, well, there's other countries you can move to if you want to, but we'd rather you just kind of, hey, why not join us? Let's all be the United States of America and be free and make money and have a business. Buy a new house if you can. I know that's not very easy right now for all of us because of the way it's been under Biden. But hopefully these trade deals and the inflation going down and jobs increasing and all of the right decisions are made for us to continue to be great. And I hope that's the way it goes for other countries as well. Hopefully the leaders in other countries. I mean, let's look at Nayib Bukele over there in El Salvador. Great leader. The Polish leader that just won, another great leader. These are all people that are saying, make Poland great again, make El Salvador great again. Viktor Orban, make Hungary great again. Nigel Farage in the UK with the Reform UK Party. Make Britain great, People see it. And President Trump gets the benefit of the doubt when it comes to what the heck's going on with all this Epstein stuff. Holy smokes, the guy has gone through so much, and he's saying release any credible evidence. All right, so, I'm just calling it like it is and how I see it. I prefer truth over anything. And so let's see what happens with the DOJ and them talking to Maxwell and them releasing any credible evidence. And the only hoax aspect is all of a sudden the deep state's like, okay, let's start blaming Trump, this and that, and let's share this picture that he had from, well, the picture is him doing nothing wrong. So anyway, looking forward to, again, seeing more of the information from the Department of National Intelligence go to the FBI and DOJ. Because a number of you out there, you know, doing what I do or doing what conservative media is doing, speaking so freely about this, is something you couldn't do in China. You can't do that right now in Brazil. You can't definitely not do that in North Korea, you know? So I'm kind of embracing this freedom to speak like this. Sure, is it risky? In some ways. What you gonna do? All right, so we know this, that it's 1:30, and with God all things are possible, and it's great to be a part of a network and be part of conservative media where God, family, and country are lifted up. All right, so let's go to a quick commercial break. If Karoline Leavitt steps to that podium, even during the commercial, we'll cut right back to it. We'll be right back here on RSBN Live.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live Show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
All right, so live here in Right Side Broadcasting Network headquarters as we're monitoring that great White House press briefing room. Great to see conservative media in there as well. All right, let's go over a few headlines in the meantime. Let's go to President Trump, his Truth Social post. He was talking about the Japan trade deal. I mean, this was a huge deal that just happened recently. It looks like, according to President Trump right here, specifically, let me get to his post. There's so many posts right there. He says, remember, Japan is, for the first time, opening its market to the United States of America, even to cars, SUVs, trucks, and everything else, even agriculture and rice, which was always a complete no-no. So the open market, President Trump says, with Japan, may be as big a profit factor as the tariffs themselves, but was only gotten because of the tariff power. The president says they also agreed to buy billions of dollars worth of military and other equipment and give us 90% of $550 billion and more. And the president ended that Truth Social post just the other day by saying MAGA. M-A-G-A with a bunch of exclamation points as the winning continues in Washington. All right, so 1:33, awaiting Karoline Leavitt. Thanks so much for streaming in live to RSBN Live. Again, it will be great to see Karoline. It will be great to see President Trump a bit later today. That'll be at around 4 to 5 o'clock. We'll have our coverage. It starts around 3:30. The president will be signing some executive orders at an AI summit pretty close to the White House. He's going to this Andrew Mellon auditorium, that according to the public schedule. So we'll hear President Trump a bit later. Of course, Robert McNeely in studio for that coverage coming up. Let's, for just a quick second, maybe on the other screen, we can talk about the poll that's out there just for some fun as we await Karoline Leavitt. Of course, there are so many serious things to talk about constantly. But as you know, President Trump sometimes kicks it a little bit and just tells it like it is and has some fun. So generally speaking, outside of news and politics, who's your favorite TV host? Now, the reason why I'm doing this is President Trump spoke about Jimmy Kimmel yesterday and Stephen Colbert earlier in the week. Is it Bob Barker, Steve Harvey, Johnny Carson, Dick Clark, Conan O'Brien, Regis Philbin? You can check out that poll. They're going to take on Alex Trebek and the late Alex Trebek and Pat Sajak, Howard Cosell, Merv Griffin, and I believe there's some other people. Definitely Dr. Phil has to be on there. And then also President Trump, he was a TV host. Can you believe it? For The Apprentice. He was an actual host. What hasn't he done when it comes to success? The host, the real estate mogul thing, the president of the United States. Man. Anyway, if you'd like to vote, just go to @MatthewAlvarez on Truth Social. Have, 161 votes so far, probably a lot more at this point that I've been talking about it on here. But, have fun with it if you'd like as we continue our coverage Wednesday, July 23rd. Okay, let's dive into a couple things. Let's go first to our our sponsor, kalshi.com/RSBN. So if you go to kalshi.com/RSBN, you can bet and trade on pretty much anything. Check out various topics out there as well, whether it's science or sports, technology, all sorts of topics out there. I'm not sure if we have the graphic for it, but there it is, kalshi.com/RSBN. You can use that QR code as well and use all of the information that you like there and check it out, kalshi.com/RSBN. Also, speaking of Right Side, if you'd like to donate to the network, obviously you get to watch all of this coverage for free, which is great. We love to provide that to you. But in order to expand and to grow and really form even more of a 24/7 style of news type of network, it takes money to do that. And we're not bought and paid for by any of those woke corporations out there. So all you have to do is go to rsbnetwork.com/donate or text RSBN to 801-801. There are some of you that said you want to mail a check. You can do so. We have a P.O. box for you. It's 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama, 36830. All right, so 136 Eastern. You like how I said Auburn, Alabama? I almost had a little southern accent there. I love the South. My wife and I are from Pennsylvania, but it's wonderful. Regardless, if you're in the Northeast, the South, the Midwest, the Mountain West, or the Pacific time zone, a beautiful country out there. And this is what you call tap dancing before we get to see the great Karoline Leavitt coming up here as it's 1:36 Wednesday, July 23rd. So what we'll do in the meantime, now that we had some fun, let's get back into some of the talking points and specifically information from Tulsi Gabbard when it comes to this release of information that she just shared within the past few hours. So let me go to DNI Gabbard. So it's at DNI Gabbard for those of you that like to follow at home there. 4 hours ago, she said, new evidence has emerged of the most egregious weaponization and politicization of intelligence in American history. So per President Trump's directive, I have declassified a House Intel Oversight Majority Staff report that exposes how the Obama administration manufactured the January 27th intelligence community assessment that they knew was false, promoting the lie that Vladimir Putin and the Russian government helped President Trump win the 2016 election. Tulsi Gabbard continuing on by saying, in doing so, they conspired to subvert the will of the American people, working with their partners in the media to promote the lie in order to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump, essentially enacting a years-long coup against him. Director, do we have that one graphic that we could maybe put up while we're waiting Karoline Leavitt here? That'd be great to see that. This is one of the graphics that Tulsi Gabbard posted on X pretty recently. She says, here are the top Obama-Russia hoax lies debunked by today's release. You can see some of the information there. I do want to point out something that Tulsi says here, the director of the National Intelligence. She says, in doing so, they conspired to subvert the will of the American people, working with their partners in the media. what else is there to say other than that's exactly what happens, not only with that situation that you see on the screen, but so many times out there of all of the false, lying narrative against God, against this country, against we the people, against freedom, against the Constitution. We are fed up with that, and that's why it's called fake news. So, on the right side of history, in conservative media, there are conservative outlets out there. You know one right here, Right Side Broadcasting Network, many of you watching right now. More than 1 million, actually more than 5 million people watched on election night on November 5th, 2024. More than 6 million people watched across all of our social platforms. We have all the numbers, all the stats. So more than 11 million people in just 2 days of coverage, election night and the inauguration, and then several 100,000, if not millions, in other, obviously bigger streams. But here's the thing, it's called momentum. And as the numbers continue to rise, it's because people are saying, I am so sick and tired of the BS in corporate media that is anti-God, truth, the family, and country. So no wonder people are saying, I'd rather live stream my news than watch cable news, than watch traditional media outlets. It's simple stuff, and that's what people are doing. So I'm not afraid to say what the truth is in the matter. Because again, when you have corporate structures that are all about woke policy and they want to control what you say, or maybe it'll act some places, it'll sound like what they're saying is true, but really, do they really want to stand with the people? When it comes down to it, do they really report accurately when it comes to elections, 2020? So there you go. That's me speaking here, and we've said those kind of things as a network as well. So anyway, really on the what's it called? I can't even think of the word right now. Just soapbox. There you go. Being on the soapbox right now, but. Hey, you can only be yourself, and I think that's what people really resonate anyway with. That's why they like President Trump. That's why you like Tom Homan. Tom Homan's just himself. He's not some paid politician guy that is all stuffy and establishment. He's just on the right side of history doing a great job. And that's what we the people want. That's all we're asking for, right? Can I get an amen from the people out there watching today's coverage? This is just a pre-show before Karoline Leavitt shows up there at the White House. Looking forward to seeing her and looking forward to hearing from the conservative media, the questions from the conservative press. The fake news press, of course, again, they fake it. Sometimes they act like they're right in line with what the president's doing, but you know what? They're not. All right, anyway, I can continue on here with this Tulsi Gabbard post. I'm not sure if we're going to see Karoline Leavitt. I mean, it was scheduled for 1 o'clock Eastern. It's 1:41. I'm going to continue on until we see her show up there. So 4 hours ago, here's some more insight into that graphic that we were showing from the Department of National Intelligence. Here's the lie that Tulsi Gabbard is saying here. When I'm saying that she's saying the lie, she's referring to a lie. That Putin and the Russian government helped Trump win the 2016 election. The truth on this ex-post, she says, is President Obama, former director of the CIA John Brennan, and others fabricated the Russia hoax, suppressed intelligence showing Putin was preparing for a Clinton victory, manufactured findings from shoddy sources, disobeyed IC standards, and knowingly lied to the American people. We can continue to go on there. This is 4 hours ago from Tulsi Gabbard. The lie that she's referring to here, she says the fabricated Steele dossier was not used as a source in the Obama administration's January 2017 intelligence community assessment of the November 2016 election. The truth, according to Tulsi here, she says not only did CIA Director Brennan and the FBI Director Comey, along with DNI Clapper and others, include the Steele dossier in the 2017 ICA, they overruled senior intel officials who warned them it was fabricated and should not be used. I guess I'll continue here at this point, because what we're seeing is Tulsi Gabbard posting more information on X. The Obama administration's January ICA was an independent intelligence community product produced with apolitical analysis. The truth: Obama ordered the intelligence community to create an intelligence community assessment they knew was false, promoting a contrived narrative with the intent of undermining the legitimacy and power of a duly elected president of the United States, Donald Trump. There is one more post here that I'm seeing from the Director of National Intelligence as we await Karoline Leavitt. Together, the ODNI GOV records released on Friday, the Justice Department's June 2018 report, known as the Clinton Annex, released earlier this week, and the House Intel Oversight Report we released today confirmed what many Americans have known. The Russia hoax was a lie that was knowingly created by the Obama administration to undermine the legitimacy and power of the duly elected president of the United States, Donald Trump. Okay, those are all the latest posts from Tulsi Gabbard, the director of the National Intelligence. Those receipts and evidence in that report headed to, and if not already there, at the Department of Justice and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. All right, 1:45 Eastern Time. Looks like it might be go time there at the White House press briefing room. Once again, if you'd like to follow us on Truth Social, it's at RSBN. If you'd like to follow me, it's at Matthew Alvarez. Robert McNeely will be in studio a bit later as we'll see President Trump at an AI summit. He'll be signing some executive orders and speaking there. We'll have that coverage shortly as we are continuing to cover this 24/7 news cycle. And it is kicked into high gear once again here as it is Wednesday, July 23rd. So we'll be seeing that door open any minute from now. We'll go to Karoline and we'll listen in on this press conference. Interested to see what the fake news press will say. There you go. Let's go to Karoline.
Hello. Good afternoon, everybody. We have a special guest with us today who will speak momentarily. But first, I would like to begin with a message from the White House to the families of the victims in the brutal murder case in Idaho, who were sharing their heart-wrenching stories about their loved ones before the court today and addressing the evil killer who took 4 precious souls. We are so sorry for the grief and the pain you have experienced at the hands of such a vicious and evil killer. Our nation grieves with you, and we will never forget the precious souls who were lost in this horrific act of evil. If it were up to the president, he would have forced this monster to publicly explain why he chose to steal these innocent souls. May God bless and watch over everyone affected by this unimaginable tragedy, especially the parents who lost their children. Let me begin with a few scheduling items off the top. Later this afternoon, President Trump will deliver the keynote address at the Winning the AI Race Summit here in Washington, D.C. President Trump believes it is non-negotiable that the United States wins the AI race, which is why today, President Trump will announce a bold and comprehensive AI action plan to sustain and enhance America's global AI dominance. Under President Trump's leadership, our country will lead the world in AI to secure a brighter future for all Americans, massively grow our economy, and protect our national security. The president will also sign 3 executive orders at the event this afternoon. On Friday morning, President Trump will travel to Scotland for a working visit that will include a bilateral meeting with Prime Minister Starmer to refine the historic U.S.-UK trade deal. On the topic of trade, yesterday, President Trump accomplished something no other president has ever achieved. The president secured and announced 3 major trade deals with the Philippines, Indonesia, and Japan, all in one day. President Trump is finally putting a stop to our country getting ripped off. As a result of the president's successful negotiating tactics, many foreign markets are now being opened to American industries for the very first time, and harmful trade barriers are being broken down. Thanks to President Trump, these countries around the world are agreeing to open their markets to American-made products and goods for the first time, which will lead to a boom in sales and profits for American businesses right here at home. As President Trump said, he will only lower tariff rates if a country agrees to open their market to American-made products. If not, They will continue to face tariffs and pay a steep price to do business in the United States of America, which remains the best market on the face of the planet. Also this week, the president officially marked 6 months here at the White House. He made big promises to the American people on the campaign trail last year, and he has unquestionably delivered on those promises in record time. The president has defeated the Biden inflation crisis to make America affordable again. Core inflation is currently at its lowest level in 4 years, and prices for everyday goods are falling. The president's pro-growth policies have fueled massive job growth across our country. Since the president has taken office, our economy has added nearly 700,000 new jobs, with native-born American workers accounting for all job gains. The president has put the economic needs of families and of workers first. He signed the largest tax cuts for the middle class in American history, including no tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security. We have also seen the president unquestionably deliver on his promise to secure our southern border. He has ended Biden's illegal alien invasion, and for 2 months in a row, 0 illegal aliens were released into our country. The president has also, as you all know, initiated the largest mass deportation campaign in American history. The president has also restored law and order to make America safe again, another campaign promise he vowed to the American public. The United States of America is currently on track for its lowest murder rate on record, following this shift from the last administration to the Trump administration. The president has also ended Joe Biden's reckless war on American energy. U.S. oil and natural gas production are now surging, and summer gas prices reached their lowest level since 2021. The president has also rebuilt our military, another campaign promise. He just signed the largest military investment in decades to modernize our armed forces with cutting-edge technology to replenish our stockpiles and provide American troops with the best equipment in the world. The U.S. Army, Navy, Air Force, and Space Force have all reached their recruitment goals months in advance. The president has restored America's standing on the world stage, brought back peace through strength, and brokered numerous peace agreements to end wars. Again, all of this in just 6 months. He obliterated Iran's nuclear program to end the war between Israel and Iran, got NATO members to raise their defense spending to 5% of GDP, and secured a ceasefire between India and Pakistan, as well as brokering a historic agreement between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The president has already received 3 different Nobel Peace Prize nominations for his peacemaking efforts. Again, all of this progress, all of these accomplishments have occurred in just 6 months. We are truly just getting started, and we look forward to working with all of you for the next 3.5 years. On another matter, over the past few days, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has unveiled shocking new evidence that former President Barack Obama and top aides in the Obama administration conspired to subvert President Trump's 2016 election victory and undermine the democratic will of the American people. While publicly pretending to engage in a peaceful transfer of power, in private, former President Obama went to great and nefarious lengths to try to sow discord among the public and sabotage his successor, President Trump. The new evidence released by the Director of National Intelligence, who is here with me today, confirms that the Obama administration manufactured politicized intelligence, which was later used as the justification for baseless smears against President Trump in an effort to try to delegitimize his victory before he even took the oath of office. The truth is that President Trump never had anything to do with Russia, and the Russia collusion hoax was a massive fraud perpetuated on the American people from the very beginning. And the worst part of this is Obama knew that truth, and so did all of the other corrupt officials involved in this scam, including former CIA Director John Brennan, former Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, former FBI Director James Comey, former Deputy Director Andrew McCabe, and many others. Director of National Intelligence Gabbard's report further confirms what we already knew. There was no collusion, no corruption, except on the part of Barack Obama and the weaponized intelligence agencies at the time. The Russia hoax was a blatant lie, all ginned up by Democrat political operatives that were signed off on by then President Obama and leaked to the news media to launch a years-long witch hunt against President Trump and his first administration. Allies of the president, including his own son, Donald Trump Jr., were disgustingly smeared as Russian assets, and some even had their lives destroyed because of this vicious lie. The president's first 2 years in office had this fake distraction hanging over it, and endless resources, time, and political capital were spent having to debunk these lies from the highest levels of our government. Now, nearly 10 years later, thanks to the declassification of documents by Director Gabbard, the truth has finally come to light. And this truth vindicates President Trump, his family, and his many allies and associates who were smeared with defamatory lies. President Trump was right from the beginning about all of this, and we are grateful that justice can be served. Now, we have even more damning evidence implicating those who tried to sabotage a duly elected president and did grave material harm to our republic. Thanks to additional important work done by CIA Director Ratcliffe, Committee Chairman Rick Crawford over the past few months, a newly declassified 2020 report prepared by the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, which DNI Director Gabbard has declassified, found that the intel community did not have any direct information that Russian President Vladimir Putin wanted to help elect President Trump in 2016. And in fact, Russia was actively preparing for a Hillary Clinton victory. But at the unusual direction of Barack Obama at the time, the intel community published implausible intelligence suggesting otherwise. Why? To sabotage the incoming president. This is truly one of the greatest political scandals in American history. And reporters at legacy outlets, some of which are sitting in this room today, like the New York Times and the Washington Post, were ridiculously awarded Pulitzer Prizes for their perpetuation of this hoax. It's well past time for those awards to be stripped from the journalists who receive them. It is not journalism to propagate political disinformation in service of the Democrat Party and those in the intelligence community who hand over out of context and fake intelligence to push a false political narrative. I will now pass it over to the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, to speak more about all of this, and then we will open it up for questions afterwards. Tulsi, thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. At President Trump's direction and with the support and coordination with the House Intelligence Committee Chairman Rick Crawford, today we've released a declassified Oversight Majority Staff report that was produced in September of 2020. The stunning revelations that we are releasing today should be of concern to every American. This is not about Democrats or Republicans. This has to do with the integrity of our democratic republic and American voters having faith that the votes cast will count. There is irrefutable evidence that detail how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false. They knew it would promote this contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help President Trump win, selling it to the American people as though it were true. It wasn't. The report that we released today shows in great detail how they carried this out. They manufactured findings from shoddy sources. They suppressed evidence and credible intelligence that disproved their false claims. They disobeyed traditional tradecraft intelligence community standards and withheld the truth from the American people. In doing so, they conspired to subvert the will of the American people who elected Donald Trump in that election in November of 2016. They worked with their partners in the media to promote this lie, ultimately to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump and launching what would be a years-long coup against him and his administration. We're here today because the American people deserve the truth, they deserve accountability, and they deserve justice. The records that we released on Friday that were ODNI records, Senator Chuck Grassley's release on Monday of what is known as the Clinton Annex, which was an appendix to the Department of Justice Office of Inspector General's 2018 report, as well as the House Intelligence Committee's majority oversight report that we're releasing today, all come back to and confirm the same report. There was a gross politicization and manipulation of intelligence by the Obama administration intended to delegitimize President Trump even before he was inaugurated, ultimately usurping the will of the American people. I'm going to go over the key findings from the House Intelligence report, which investigated the claims that were made by an intelligence community assessment ordered by President Obama and published in January of 2017. First, Putin's principal interests relating to the 2016 election were to undermine faith in the U.S. democratic process, not show any preference of a certain candidate. In fact, this report shows Putin held back from leaking compromising material on Hillary Clinton prior to the election, instead planning to release it after the election to weaken what Moscow viewed as an inevitable Clinton presidency. In the January 2017 intelligence community assessment that President Obama ordered, John Brennan, who was CIA director at the time, and the intelligence community intentionally suppressed intelligence that showed Putin was saving the most damaging material that he had in his possession about Hillary Clinton until after her potential and likely victory. The report goes into great detail about the information that Russia and Putin had on Hillary Clinton, which included possible criminal acts like secret meetings with multiple named U.S. religious organizations in which State Department officials offered, in exchange for supporting Secretary Clinton's campaign for the presidency, significant increases in financing from the State Department. They also had documents that showed the patronage of the State Department to State Department employees who would go and support Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. There were high-level DNC emails that detailed evidence of Hillary's, quote, psycho-emotional problems, uncontrolled fits of anger, aggression, and cheerfulness, and that then Secretary Clinton was allegedly on a daily regimen of heavy tranquilizers. Then CIA Director Brennan and the intelligence community mischaracterized intelligence and relied on dubious substandard sources to create a contrived false narrative that Putin developed a quote-unquote clear preference for Trump. Brennan and the IC misled lawmakers by referencing the debunked Steele dossier to assess quote-unquote Russia's plans and intentions, falsely suggesting that this dossier had intelligence value when he knew that it was discredited. The intelligence community excluded significant intelligence and ignored or selectively quoted reliable intelligence that contradicted the intelligence community assessment's key findings on Putin's alleged support for Trump. Including this intelligence reporting would have exposed the ICA's claim as implausible, if not ridiculous. The intelligence community assessment omitted reliably sourced information, such as how some Russian intelligence officials were quote-unquote planning for candidate Hillary Clinton's victory, while others assessed neither Trump nor Clinton would respect Russia's interests. As was reflected in the ODNI documents that we released on Friday, multiple intelligence community assessments released in the months leading up to the November 2016 election concluded that Russia had neither the intent nor capability to impact the outcome of the U.S. election. On December 5th of 2016, the FBI and ODNI gave the House Intelligence Committee its first post-election classified briefing, in which there was no mention of Putin aspiring to elect Trump by either agency. The Presidential Daily Brief, drafted on December 8th of 2016, stated that no Russian or criminal actors impacted vote counts. This document was pulled just hours before it was to be published due to quote-unquote new guidance. If it had been published, it would have been briefed to both President Obama and President-elect Donald Trump. On December 9th, 2016, a National Security Council meeting was called to gather President Obama's senior national security officials, which included CIA Director Brennan, then Obama DNI James Clapper, Susan Rice, and others. Following that secret meeting, DNI Clapper's assistant sent an email to the intelligence community with the subject line, POTUS tasking on Russia election meddling, tasking ODNI leaders to create a new assessment per the president's request. The House Intelligence Committee Oversight Report that we released today reveals that, quote, unlike routine intelligence community analysis, the intelligence community assessment was a high-profile product ordered by the President, President Obama. It directed senior intelligence community agency heads and created an intelligence community assessment limited to just 5 analysts, using one principal drafter. This is not something that occurs in the normal path of producing an intelligence community assessment that reflects the views across the intelligence community. The production of this intelligence community assessment was subject to unusual directives directly from the president and senior political appointees, especially the former director of the CIA, John Brennan. The House Intelligence Committee Oversight Report also shows how later that same day, on December 9th, Brennan ordered the publication of quote-unquote substandard reporting on Russian activities, which had previously been withheld from publication of prior assessments because the information was judged, quote, to have not met long-standing publication standards. Some of the information later used in the Obama-ordered assessment over the objections of veteran CIA officers was, quote-unquote, unclear or from unknown sources. The Intelligence Committee's oversight report reveals that CIA Director Brennan overruled senior CIA officers who challenged the Obama-ordered intelligence assessment, stating, quote, we don't have direct information that Putin wanted to get Trump elected. Yet, the Obama-directed assessment was published on January 6, 2017, which explicitly stated, quote, we assess Putin and the Russian government aspired to help President-elect Trump's election chances when possible by discrediting Secretary Clinton and publicly contrasting her unfavorably to him, end of quote. The CIA and FBI, then led by John Brennan and James Comey, expressed high confidence in this judgment, while the NSA expressed moderate confidence. Yet, as the report we released today shows, the ICA, the Intelligence Community Assessment, did not cite any report where Putin indicated helping Trump win was an objective. The opposite is true. With regards to the Steele dossier, we now know that one of the source documents that the Obama administration used in the creation of this intelligence assessment in January of 2017 was none other than the discredited, unverified Steele dossier. The House Intel report states, quote, contradicting public claims by then CIA Director Brennan that the dossier was not in any way incorporated into this intelligence assessment. The dossier was referenced in the intelligence assessment's main body text and further detailed in a 2-page assessment annex. John Brennan lied, and he denied using this dossier in this intelligence assessment that President Obama ordered because he knew it was discredited. It was a politically motivated, manufactured document. He directed senior CIA officials to use it anyway. CIA officer told the House Intelligence Committee staff as they investigated this, quote, the director of the CIA, John Brennan, refused to remove it, and when confronted with the dossier's many flaws, responded, quote, yes, but doesn't it ring true? Even the bipartisan Senate Select Committee on Intelligence report published in 2020 criticized the FBI's handling of the Steele dossier, noting its completely unverified nature and purposeful sidestepping of intelligence community procedures in its use. Now, President Obama, Hillary Clinton, John Brennan, James Clapper, James Comey, and others, including their mouthpieces in the media, knowingly lied as they repeated the contrived narrative that was created in this January 2017 intelligence community assessment with high confidence as though it were fact. John Brennan, as CIA director, stated in a memo to his agency staff in December of 2016, saying, quote, there is strong consensus among us on the scope, nature, and intent of Russian interference in our presidential election. This was reported by NBC News, confirming that Brennan, along with James Clapper and James Comey, agreed with the CIA's assessment that Russia intervened to help Trump win the presidency. As Obama's Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper was tasked with overseeing the creation of this assessment in January of 2017 by President Obama, and he expressed confidence in its findings. In a 2018 interview with the Harvard Gazette, he talked about how he provided Trump with the same classified assessment that President Obama received, which included the high confidence judgment that Putin directly ordered the hacking and election interference. Clapper then went on to add, I think they, the Russians, actually influenced the outcome. This is a brief summary of the details that you'll find within the House Majority Staff's report in their investigation into the Obama-directed January 2017 Intelligence Community Assessment. That leads us to the very same conclusion that we announced in the release of our documents on Friday. The implications of this are far-reaching and have to do with the integrity of our democratic republic. It has to do with an outgoing president taking action to manufacture intelligence to undermine and usurp the will of the American people in that election and launch what would be a years-long coup against the incoming President of the United States, Donald Trump. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Tulsi. And we do want to take questions on this topic while the director has time for this topic. We'll leave. I'm happy to take questions on other matters after that. But if anyone has questions for Director Gabbard, you're welcome to ask them. We'll start with our new media seat as always. Emily, go ahead.
Thank you. And Director Gabbard, this one is for you. Do you believe that any of this new information implicates former President Obama in criminal behavior?
We have referred and will continue to refer all of these documents to the Department of Justice and the FBI to investigate the criminal implications of this.
For even former President Obama?
Correct. The evidence that we have found and that we have released directly point to President Obama leading the manufacturing of this intelligence assessment. There are multiple pieces of evidence and intelligence that confirm that fact.
Ed, go ahead.
Director Gabbard, thank you. So just two questions, but to begin on that. The President yesterday, you've inferred that the former President helped lead a coup. Based on what you now see, do you believe President Obama is guilty of treason?
I'm leaving the criminal charges to the Department of Justice. I'm not an attorney, but as I've said previously, when you look at the intent behind creating a fake manufactured intelligence document that directly contradicts multiple assessments that were created by the intelligence community, the expressed intent and what followed afterward can only be described as a years-long coup and a treasonous conspiracy against the American people, our republic, and an attempt to undermine President Trump's administration.
The Senate Intelligence Committee spent several years looking into this and unanimously agreed in a bipartisan fashion, Secretary of State Rubio was a member of that committee, that there was no political interference. There was a years-long Justice Department investigation into this as well that also concluded no political interference. So help us, from a 50,000-foot level, explain, what do you now have that refutes those two conclusions?
I will encourage you, in my role as the Director of National Intelligence, my job, again, as I said when I came into this role, was to make sure that we are telling the truth to the American people and that we are ensuring that the intelligence community is not being politicized. So I'm not asking you to take my word for it. I'm asking you in the media to conduct honest journalism and the American people to see for yourself in the documents that we've released now, close to 200 pages, that point in multiple references, multiple examples, to include comments that have been made by senior intelligence professionals, who are some still working within these agencies today, that confirm the conclusions that we have drawn, that President Obama directed an intelligence community assessment to be created to further this contrived false narrative that ultimately led to a years-long coup to try to undermine President Trump's presidency.
And it's your belief that those two previous investigations missed that or covered it up?
I'm telling you to look at the evidence. Look at the evidence, and you will know the truth.
John.
Thanks, Caroline. Thanks, Director Gabbard. You declassified these documents, if I'm not mistaken, Friday of last week, correct?
We released them on Friday of last week, the first tranche, yes.
This isn't the first time that President Trump has been president of the United States. He was president from 2017 to 2021. Couldn't the prior DNI under President Trump have declassified these documents? And why didn't that DNI do that at that time?
I can't speak to what happened there. There were several DNIs under the first Trump administration. President Trump faced many challenges from those who were working in the government who sought to undermine his presidency. That's been clearly detailed. What I can speak to is the fact that this was one of the first things that we started to investigate here within this Trump administration and have released the results upon the conclusion of our investigation.
And then my second question has to do with what intelligence agencies around the world have said about Russia, that they have tried to influence elections in the United States, in France, in Germany, in the UK. Do you disagree with that? Do you believe that Russia is a bad actor as it relates to trying to influence elections?
I'll point back to the intelligence that President Trump has ordered declassified, that we have declassified and released, that the intelligence reflects Russia's motives were to try to sow discord and chaos within the U.S. election, which is a clear distinction from showing a preference for or against a specific candidate, which is what the Obama manufactured intelligence document alleges, that Russia preferred Donald Trump and tried to help Donald Trump get elected. Again, going back to the most important point here, with the intent to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump's election and therefore subvert the will of the American people who chose to send him to the White House.
Reagan. Thanks, Caroline. Director Gabbard, Reagan Reese with Daily Caller. You laid out that the documents revealed that the Obama administration did not publish a December 2016 presidential daily briefing that demonstrated that Russia did not steal the election. Trump was receiving these briefings at the time because he was president-elect. Are you of the view that that information was kept out of the briefing because then President-elect Donald Trump would have seen it?
I don't have any documents that speak to exactly what the new guidance was that was given as the reason for pulling that document, which, by the way, still has never been published until we released it last week, Friday. One could assume that they didn't want President Trump to see a document that came from the intelligence community that would contradict the Russia hoax narrative that began through the Hillary Clinton campaign with the Steele dossier.
One more. Maybe either for you or Caroline. The president said yesterday that Obama committed treason. Do you or the White House believe that the Supreme Court's immunity decision protects Obama from prosecution?
Look, I can speak to the president's feelings on this matter. He spoke to all of you yesterday in the Oval Office, but I also spoke to him about this morning. And he wants to see all those who perpetuated this fraud against our country, who betrayed our country and the Constitution, to be thoroughly investigated and held accountable. And it's been 10 years of this. And I would just add, based on everything the director has said and declassified, all of you in this room should go through it and take a look at this report and review the intelligence, because unfortunately that hasn't happened. And many of the people who perpetuated this hoax, Clapper, Andy McCabe, James Comey, and many others, have been hired by major networks in this room to go on television and continue to spew these lies, knowing that they are lies. And if you all recall, just flashback to 2016 and the years after, the entire Trump 1 presidency was embroiled in this scandal that was perpetuated by the Democrat Party. And you had major Democrat Party officials in this city, namely Adam Schiff, Hillary Clinton, Elizabeth Warren, who went on television and told the American people, Donald Trump is an asset of Russia. It was a lie. They always knew it. Hillary Clinton herself said that President Trump would be a puppet for Putin. Senator Tim Kaine at the time called President Trump Vladimir Putin's defense lawyer. Adam Schiff stated, and one of the worst things a lawmaker can do is to tell the American people, I know something you don't know, it's just classified and I can't tell you. And that's what he said. I can tell you that the case is more than that. I can't go into the particulars, but there is more than circumstantial evidence now. And not enough people in this room, not enough journalists in this country pushed Adam Schiff to say, what are you talking about? What evidence do you have? Everybody just ran with the lies, and it led to impeachments. It led to the division of our country. Unfortunately, so many Americans, from listening to outlets in this room, believed in these lies. And it's a complete scam, and it's a scandal, and the president wants to see accountability for that. Phil.
Thank you. Question for Director Gabbard. A spokesperson for former President Obama said in a statement earlier this week, quote, nothing in the documents issued last week undercuts the widely accepted conclusion that Russia worked to influence the 2016 election but did not successfully manipulate any votes. How do you respond to critics like former President Obama and also others on the Hill who say that the administration is conflating apples and oranges here, conflating allegations of actual hacking of voter machines and allegations of interference generally?
I think it's a disservice to the American people that former President Obama's office and others who are criticizing the transparency that is being delivered by releasing these documents. They are doing a disservice to the American people and trying to deflect away from their culpability in what is a historic scandal and negative action towards the American people and our democratic republic. The answer to that statement can very clearly be found throughout all of the documents that we have released. Again, showing that Russia has took action to try to sow discord in the election, but showed no preference for or against any singular candidate.
You've long been an opponent of weaponization in government. How do you respond to criticism that referring Obama administration officials and even potentially the former president is just more weaponization, and this is a potential race to the bottom?
I think that's a very disrespectful attack on the American people who deserve the truth. They deserve to have faith and trust in the integrity of our democratic republic, which has been undermined by President Obama through his direction of this manufactured fake intelligence document, knowing that it was filled with lies and knowing that it would and could then be used for all of the actions that came after.
Karoline, and I would just add, there needs to be accountability for that weaponization, Phil, that we've seen. And no one has been a victim of the weaponized government more than President Trump, not just because of this political scandal. You all recall his house was raided. So I think, it's very disingenuous for people to say, how dare they speak of former President Obama about this based on evidence and based on intelligence, when the former President of the United States, Donald Trump's home was raided, when he was forced to sit in a Manhattan courtroom and many other courtrooms across the country for crimes he never committed, when he was impeached and indicted, and the entire country witnessed that. That's the weaponization of justice. Now the president is back because the American people see the truth. Nearly 80 million Americans reelected him back to this office, and he believes that we need to have justice and accountability. And I think the nearly 80 million Americans who reelected him agree with that. Caitlin.
Thank you, Caroline. Two questions for Director Gabbard just on this. Director Gabbard, you referenced the past intelligence reports and assessments on this, including that 2017 one that was signed off, as Ed noted, by every Republican on the Senate Intelligence Community, including the acting chair of the time, now Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who said in a statement that they did not find any evidence of Russian collusion, but they did find, however, is very troubling, and they found irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling. One, are you saying that he's wrong in that statement that he made then? And secondly, what would you say to people who believe that you're only releasing these documents now to improve your standing with the president after he said that your intelligence assessments were wrong?
Well, first, I want to correct something that you stated, which was citing the Senate Intelligence Committee's report as being one and the same. I think you said the intelligence community. The Senate Intelligence Committee has a very different function than the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. The evidence and the intelligence that has been declassified and released is irrefutable. I'm going to let Karoline speak to Secretary Rubio.
I'll speak to both questions. First, on Secretary Rubio, he put out a statement in 2020 following that Senate Intelligence Committee report, and he said what they found is troubling. We found irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling, which the Director of National Intelligence just confirmed for all of you, that Russia was trying to sow distrust and chaos. But what's the outrage in this that Secretary Rubio did not say at the time, the Democrats were saying at the time, is the fact that the intelligence community was concocting this narrative that the president colluded with the Russians, that the president's son was holding secret meetings with the Russians, all of these lies that were never true. And he also said at that time, we discovered deeply troubling actions taken by the FBI under Comey, particularly their acceptance and willingness to rely on the Steele dossier without verifying its methodology or sourcing. The Steele dossier that many outlets in this room ran as the gospel truth, and it was cooked up and paid for by the Clinton campaign. As for your second question, Caitlin, I think who is saying that she would release this to try to boost her standing with the president? Who has said that?
Well, the president has publicly undermined her when it came to Iran. He said she was wrong. He told me that she didn't know what she was talking about. That was on Air Force One on camera.
The only people who are suggesting that the Director of National Intelligence would release evidence to try to boost her standing with the president are the people in this room who constantly try to sow distrust and chaos amongst the president's cabinet, and it is not working. I will just answer your question directly. I am with the President of the United States every day. He has the utmost confidence in Director Gabbard. He always has. He continues to, and that is true of his entire cabinet, who is all working as one team to deliver on the promises this president made. Does anyone else have questions for Director Gabbard? And then we'll turn it over to a couple other questions. Christian, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Director Gabbard, two follow-ups on questions that have been asked. You mentioned the previous DNIs during the president's first term. One of them reports to you right now, if I'm not mistaken, John Ratcliffe. So have you not spoken to him about why this information was not declassified during the first term?
He was in that position for a very short period of time. The work that began back then, we have picked up and absolutely completed. We are continuing to investigate this. Additional whistleblowers are now coming forward because they see an opportunity for the truth to come to light. And as Karoline said, for real accountability to be brought forward. The accountability is the essential part of this. We can show the truth, reveal the truth. The accountability needs to occur to be able to start to restore that trust in the integrity of our democracy.
And then just quickly, I know you said you would leave the charging to DOJ, but the statute of limitations on conspiracy is 5 years. So what else could they possibly pursue besides treason?
I think that's a great question for Attorney General Pam Bondi. We're providing all of the evidence, all of the intelligence that we have, both redacted and unredacted versions, referring it to the Department of Justice and the FBI.
We'll take one more. Charlie, go ahead.
How credible was the information about Hillary Clinton's power commute? The report said that it was from sourced from the DNC. Have you seen that information? Or do you think that maybe Russia was overemphasizing what they had?
All I have seen is what the Intelligence Committee have reported through their investigation. I think the underlying point there is that we understand from intelligence what Russia said that they had. And the important point here is that if they were trying to influence the election, as President Obama and James Clapper and John Brennan, everybody said they were doing in order to support Donald Trump's election, they would have released the most damning of that information, some of which I detailed here. You'll find the rest in the report, prior to the election to help Donald Trump win. They specifically withheld what they had on her, the most damning information, because they thought that she would win the election. They had plans to release it just prior to her inauguration to, again, sow discord and chaos in America.
And if I may, on Jeffrey Epstein, can you rule out that he was connected in some way to any kind of intelligence, either foreign or domestic?
I haven't seen any evidence or information that reflects that. If anything comes before me that changes that in any way, support the president's statement loud and clear. If any credible evidence comes forward, he wants the American people to see it.
Great. Director Gabbard, we thank you for your time today. I know you're a busy woman, so we'll let you get out of here, but thank you so much. Okay. I know there's many issues going on today across the world and here at home. If you have any other further questions, I'm happy to take them. Ed, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, thank you, Caroline. So the Japan trade deal, is that Japan trade deal the start of this number of trade deals that the Treasury Secretary says we're going to see by August 1st?
I think it is. I mean, as you said, we had Japan yesterday. We also had Indonesia, and we had the Philippines as well. The president announcing all three. He came in as the closer in all three of those. I've said many times from this podium that the president's trade team has been in active talks and discussions with many countries around the world, and you've all been anxiously awaiting what those countries were. Now you know three of them, and there's many, many more to go. We have now sent 25 letters to countries around the world. But just to reiterate this Japan deal, for those at home who may have missed it, Japan will now pay a 15% tariff versus the reciprocal rate of 24% that they initially had. Auto and auto parts tariffs have been reduced to 15%, but the centerpiece of this deal now is the president got Japan to commit to $550 billion in investments to revitalize American industries. And these funds will be spent at President Trump's discretion and direction into key industries such as energy, semiconductors, critical minerals, pharmaceuticals, and shipbuilding. And the U.S. will retain 90% of the profits from any investments made by this $550 billion fund. This was originally a $400 billion investment that President Trump then negotiated to an increase of $150 billion, making it a $550 billion deal for the American people. And I just want to emphasize, Ed, I see you have a follow-up, but it's very important. Japan has agreed to open their markets to many very key sectors in American-made products that have really faced very strict tariff and non-tariff barriers prior. So thanks to the president, Japan's markets will now be open to American-made products and goods. This is big news for our tech companies and our farmers as well.
On Monday, the Treasury Secretary is going to Stockholm to talk to the Chinese delegation. What does the president hope to get out of that meeting? Are there deliverables?
I won't speak to any deliverables or set expectations. I'll let the Secretary of Treasury do that. But I did speak to him yesterday about his upcoming trip, and he looks forward to continuing discussions with his Chinese counterparts. The President has ensured that we have a good continuing working relationship with China that benefits the United States. And so the Secretary of Treasury will be obviously discussing those key matters, but I'll let him set the expectations.
One more, if I may.
Sure.
Given what the DNI just said and laid out, does President Trump believe that President Obama should go to jail for something?
Look, the President believes that this matter needs to be thoroughly investigated, and anyone convicted of crime should be held accountable in this country. Go ahead.
Special Envoy Wickoff is headed overseas again.
Good to see you, Olivia. I haven't seen you since the campaign trail.
Yeah, it's good to see you. He's headed back overseas. Can you give us a sense of what the marching orders are to some of the people he'll be meeting with, and specifically as it relates to Gaza and ongoing talks there?
Yes, Special Envoy Wickoff is headed to Europe, where he will meet with key leaders from the Middle East to discuss the ongoing ceasefire proposal to end this conflict in Gaza and to release the hostages. These are very sensitive negotiations that are currently taking place. I spoke to Special Envoy Wickoff last night about them. I will let him speak further on the matter, but the President and Special Envoy Wickoff has made the administration's goals clear. We want this ceasefire to happen as soon as possible, and we want these hostages to be released. Go ahead.
Karoline, a Florida federal judge has refused to allow the Epstein grand jury materials to be released. Does the President want the administration or Department of Justice to appeal that ruling?
That was just breaking as the director and I were coming out here, so I haven't had a chance to talk to the President about it. I understand there are 2 other requests from the Department of Justice that are ongoing, but I'll let this President speak to whether he wants to see an appeal. And the Department of Justice, I'm sure, can give you a statement on that as well.
Is he supportive of the effort to talk to Ghislaine Maxwell? I know that Todd Blanchard mentioned that earlier this week.
The President spoke to this yesterday, and he said he thinks it's an appropriate idea. Kelly.
What is the accountability that you would like to see if the current president is the one who brought the case to the Supreme Court and Chief Justice Roberts made clear in his opinion that a sitting president's responsibilities in office cannot lead to prosecution, immunity? So what is it the President Trump wants regarding President Obama, given that fact? And the special counsel at the time, Durham, when that Supreme Court matter was not in effect, could have charged anyone and did not. So on those 2 points, how do you respond?
Look, the President has made it clear that he wanted these documents to be declassified. He wanted the American people to see the truth, and now he wants those who perpetuated these lies and this scandal to be held accountable. As for what accountability looks like, as the director said, it's in the Department of Justice's hands, and we trust them to move this ball forward.
Well, you would agree
Stephanie.
President Obama cannot be charged based on that immunity.
Again, I'll leave that to the Department of Justice. Stephanie.
In light of the Japan deal, are sectoral tariffs now up for negotiation with trading partners? And in a similar note, are these negotiators asking for investment funds, sort of like what Japan had agreed to?
As for sectoral tariffs, I understand that the President continues to be in talks with our Secretary of Commerce. We have made commitments on various sectoral tariffs, as you know. The Department of Commerce has initiated studies to then move forward with implementing those sectoral tariffs. So I would defer you to them for further comment. Meredith.
I wanted to ask if the White House has any update on the Commerce Department employee who's been detained or banned from exiting China, and if there are any efforts to get him out.
I can assure you and the American people that the administration is actively monitoring the situation and engaged, but typically we don't comment on individual cases like this as we are sorting them out. Sure.
Yes.
Behind you, Dr. Harper. Sorry. Go ahead to the lady sitting down in the blue. Yes.
Thanks,
What's your name? What's your name?
My name is Karoline also. Caroline Boda with the Center Square.
Great.
So Republicans in the Senate today said that they are pulling back on legislation to impose sanctions on Russia after the president said he wants to act unilaterally. Can you elaborate on what the president intends to do?
Look, the president has been in very close communication with his friends in the Senate, particularly Senator Lindsey Graham, on this issue. But the president has always maintained, he's the commander-in-chief and the president for a reason, and he has been deeply involved in this conflict since the beginning. And so any decisions that are made with respect respect to sanctions, the president wants to reserve that authority and that right to himself. Jasmine.
Thanks, Caroline. Two questions for you. The first on AI. Does President Trump support federal agencies contracting with Elon Musk's AI company?
I don't think so, no.
Okay, so he would want the DOJ to then cancel the contract with Roth.
I'll talk to him about it, yes.
And my second question, just, obviously the developments with the Epstein case with the judge, but I wonder, has the White House counsel, the DOJ explored any other documents that could be released to the public that don't have to do with that grand jury testimony?
To my knowledge, the Department of Justice has moved forward with the request to unseal that grand jury testimony, and as you know, they have also moved forward with interviewing Ms. Maxwell, which I believe will be taking place very soon. Go ahead. Sure.
Thanks, Caroline. I have a question about Paul Ingrassia, the OSC nominee who faces a Senate committee hearing tomorrow. Tom Tillis said that he wouldn't vote for Ingrassia if a vote came to the Senate floor. 24 worker advocacy groups have said that they don't support his nomination. What is the White House planning to do to sort of turn the tide or convince legislators that they should vote for him?
The White House is always in communication with members of both the Senate and the House, and we stand by the president's nominees. Sure.
In connection with the Mueller investigation, a grand jury indicted 13 Russians. President Putin has said he will never extradite those men. Given the new information that Ms. Gabbard has found, what's the administration's position on that case? Should those charges be dropped?
I don't have an update for you on that case, but I'll check in with the National Security Council, and our team will get you something. Sure.
Thank you so much. So Fannie Willis and Jack Smith separately, they both charged President Trump with conspiracy to defraud the United States and a conspiracy to overturn the 2020 election. And now it turns out we're confirming that Obama and his cronies were doing that the whole time in 2016 on a massive scale, falsifying documents and having their intel agencies do this. What does this say about the 2020 election? And also, what's your thoughts on the irony here?
There is a lot of irony, especially for the party of the Democrat Party, who claims to be for democracy. We often heard throughout the 2024 campaign they were calling this president a threat to democracy. And now I think the declassification of all of these documents proves that they were indeed the true threat to democracy. And as I said repeatedly today, there needs to be justice and accountability for that. You all will hear directly from the president later this afternoon at the AI Summit here in Washington, D.C., scheduled to speak later in a few hours. So we will see you all there. Thank you very much.
It's a great day to be an American. We just witnessed an epic and historic White House press briefing. Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt and Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard standing for we the people today at the White House. To Caroline's point, later today we will see President Trump at that AI summit. He will deliver remarks and sign executive orders. Our coverage starts at 3:30 for that. Robert McNeely will be in studio for that. There's a lot of news to get into. You just heard a lot of information there. If you're just joining us, go ahead and replay that entire press conference. Again, an epic one that we just saw right here on this Wednesday, July 23rd. This RSBN live stream broadcast brought to you by All Family Pharmacy. Thank you guys so much for being a great sponsor here. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Also, callsheet.com/RSBN. You can bet and trade and just check out a lot of polls on there as well. A lot of people doing that, more than 1 million users. Angelpaste.com. Use that RSBN promo code. Out of Spring, Texas. Great products, including the flagship product, the Miracle Cream, right there. Also, mypillow.com/RSBN. Of course, the great Mike Lindell offering us free shipping. Use the RSBN promo code. And speaking of Right Side Broadcasting Network, if you'd like to donate to the network, you can. rsbnetwork.com/donate. Also, you could text RSBN to 801-801. And for those of you that want to send a check, which we were told that's what's happening, all you have to do is send it to 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama 36830. All right, so our next coverage starts in less than an hour from now as we get ready to see the Commander-in-Chief, President Donald J. Trump. For all of us At Right Side Broadcasting Network, I'm Matthew Alvarez. America, we love you. We'll see you in a bit.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.